There we go. Welcome to Every New Day, the end stream, with your hosts, Bird and
Hey
Edge.
everyone, it's good to be back.
I had a bit of a weird issue there.
I hope everyone's okay. Like, it's been a very interesting week with a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure everybody's like on the edge of it, like edge of World War III. Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Indeed. We'd like to remind you again that we're streaming simultaneously on Rumble. Follow us there. We'll post the links on Kick and on YouTube. Thanks a lot for all the subscribers joining up on YouTube. And also, of course, we have our community on Discord. Please join. In fact, a lot of contributors there provide a lot of news tips and other stuff that we put into our streams for the week. And also we have an X, aka Twitter. Do follow us on that. And we just started an Instagram from some of our supporters were demanding that we should set up an Instagram. So I got an Instagram, and on the Instagram we'll probably feature We'll post that also in the chat. Let me put that all in
As
there.
cliche as it sounds, we're quite excited about it.
Yeah, and the Instagram will feature like guests that come over to the studio, or sometimes what each of us are doing in relation to End Media, ENDtv, and all the projects which a lot are coming along. So yeah, so I think the question, Edge, first of all, is people are wondering like, what the heck are we doing streaming on a Saturday?
We have nothing better to do, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think, well, we decided to choose Saturday because we thought it would be best for most people, especially because they can, relax, chill. It's not too late for certain people, especially, in North America on the East Coast and also in Europe. So you still have enough time to do things.
You have to take like time zones into consideration because like the internet is global. Right. It's not just, let's say, from our countries. It's people from like everywhere.
Right. And we have, just to give you an update, we have the video. I don't know if you have the link for that, but we did release our video of the EU, the rise of the EU, European military industrial complex. YouTube has been trying to strangle us on that one because apparently it's election interference somehow, which makes no sense because we don't even refer to anything to do with the elections, but whatever. Check out that video because it is actually very informative and we spent a lot of time on that. It's kind of like a special ENDtv report.
This one.
We also just released one on the new space race. Check that one out too. And upcoming is, of course, implications of AI this week, and also we are going to be focusing one on the Palantir problem and another on the Ukrainian missing children / European trafficking. So some real serious topics coming up and more. And of course, we take suggestions. And if there's anything that you put in our Discord in the community, and if there's enough there for us to do a deep dive and uncover, then we definitely, we'll look into it. So let's get right into it, I guess. I think we covered.
Let's get the show on the road. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you mentioned again YouTube, Rumble, Kick. Our socials are X, Discord, and Instagram. Leave us a follow, have a look, check out what we're doing. We're more than eager, to get views.
We're also gonna try to do. We're gonna also try to do some stuff where, I don't know. We're gonna see about creating some stickers and stuff, if that's possible. So if people want to support us, they can stick us around the place, and people are like, "What is that?" Yeah, we have some interesting concepts for designs. But anyway, right into the news. So we're gonna run through a few things we kind of touched upon in the last stream, but we'll get into it. But the Northern Ireland riots in Ballymena, which is been hit by a wave of anti-immigrant riots, which all started because more information has come to light. Now there's more stuff being reported on it. 2 Romanian-speaking teenagers who were charged with attempted. We have to watch out with that word. R word because of YouTube. Yeah. So attempted R word,
and it's another word for monkey right after R monk, but.
I mean, this wouldn't be a problem on Kick and Rumble, but apparently on YouTube it is. So it's attempted attempted sexual assault. We can say that, of a 13-year-old girl. And what began as a peaceful protest quickly escalated into chaos, with rioters throwing petrol bombs. I mean, which giving you flashbacks to the IRA, smashing windows, setting fires. The violence spread to nearby towns, leaving over about 60 police officers injured and forcing many other migrants to flee. This included the Filipino community, who were very freaked out and were trying to tell people we're not Romanian. For some reason, they were being confused for Romanian. I don't know how you could confuse Filipinos for Romanian, but I don't know.
What is going on?
I've been confused for. I don't know. And also display symbols of British loyalty for protection. For some people who get a bit confused, Northern Ireland is still part of the United Kingdom. It's not part of Ireland. Because I've met a lot of people who get confused with that. They think it's still
the thing
Ireland,
is, though,
it's not.
it's
Northern
like
Ireland,
all the countries like within the UK, Scotland, Wales, England, and Northern Ireland each have their own flags, but altogether they're part of the Union Jack.
United Kingdom,
like the blue, white, and red flag.
So I guess the deeper question cutting into this is like, why is Northern Ireland really debriding? Well, there's one particular article which leans more on the conservative side, and it argues that the riots are a response to the significant demographic shifts in Northern Ireland, and this is the influx of migrants, particularly from Eastern Europe, that has altered the cultural landscape, and this has been leading to feelings of displacement and cultural erosion among some of the local communities. There's also been like economic factors to this, such as unemployment or underemployment, that have exacerbated the tensions. And the perception is that the migrants are competing for limited resources and job opportunities. That has fueled, obviously, this more deeper resentment. This is not unlike, obviously, the issues that we are seeing on the southern border, the United States of America. These have been similar arguments that have been put forward, especially by the Republican side. There's, you want to add
I want to add that. So you mentioned about jobs as well. Like sometimes there's also a bit of racism. There's also like something I've personally seen that's it's in the news, but it's not really out there, is an issue with housing, because
we touched upon that actually. That's a big issue right now in Europe. If you recall, the house price, the European
people are like, this immigrant is stealing my opportunity to rent a flat or something. And but we'll touch upon the issue about like touristic places as well, like in Spain. We'll touch upon that a bit later.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now, the irony of this situation is that this is like, unlike the protests that we have seen across Europe in the past, which was more against, the refugees and migrants coming from abroad, right? And or at least from more impoverished countries or war-torn countries. This is now a case where we're seeing now this tension rise because of actual people within the EU. Romania's in the EU. And I actually remember this not too long ago when first like countries like Poland and Romania, believe it or not, I do have a memory that far back.
Poland joined in 2004,
I remember there were already tensions
like that.
Yeah, and I remember there were already tensions in the UK because of like, they were like, oh, this is cheaper labor. So a lot of, Polish came in and they were doing like the construction jobs and things like this. But I mean, that's only natural if you think about it. Like, because if you have the opportunity, you're going to do it. And if it can do it legally, by the way, legally, this is another case. This isn't illegal immigration. This is legal. So these are legal migrants that are going to another country. Now, obviously, I think everybody in their right mind would condemn what happened to this 13-year-old girl. It doesn't really matter who or where they're from. And I think we referenced that before. I think the problem is that this is now sort of just boiled up into becoming a bigger issue than what is the actual issue, which I think is like looking at the root of like why this happened. And this is not necessarily relating to actually the other issues that are, the political climate and the economic factors and under employment or the cultural tensions. Those are valid, I guess, to some degree, but I don't think that you can, two things can be true, but it's not necessarily always interconnected. So I just think the fact that there's these two boys that did what they did, which is absolutely heinous. I would be more curious to know, like, well, I'd like to know why they did it. Because the thing is, because the thing is, children, they're children as well. So where are they getting this from? What's going on? And I think that's the deeper question to look into here, instead of making this into a broader topic about immigration, which is always the case, and it always gets, the real social issues get swept under the rug here. Because we know, I can tell you for a fact, I keep hearing some sound here. I know for a fact that Northern Ireland has been known historically as a rampant country for a lot of child abuse and a lot of other things that go on there. And it has a history of this. So, the fact that this crime occurred, I'm not saying it was surprising, but it's just like, I think there's an underlying issues here that are not really being looked at. So there has been a media influence of this, because the role of the media in shaping the public perception has also highlighted, and there's been a lot of sensationalistic reporting and the spread of misinformation that has contributed to the vilification of a lot of migrant communities, because there have been, as we brought up, like Filipinos who are afraid that they're being targeted. Insane, which, again, this is just due to ignorance, and this is not unlike during the COVID epidemic, when a lot of people were going after like any Asian person and blaming them somehow, when they could have been Korean or even Chinese for that matter. It's not like they had any direct connection to the Wuhan laboratory. And the same thing as after 9/11, where anyone Sikhs were being targeted because they had a type of a turban, or any darker skinned person who was Middle Eastern was being targeted as well, or or Islamic person. Again, this is the mob mentality. This is being fueled by mainstream media, which is hyper politicized, and it's all for the neo-reactionary outcome, so as then you can have the clicks and the views and all the whole thing online, and then everybody can get angry, and that sells. Profit comes from anger and hatred, believe it or not.
Like what Yoda
That's
said.
not what we're about here, because well, he didn't talk about profit, but anyhow, there is a valid case, though, of course, about the local communities who feel left behind economically, and I think that is another broader topic here, which is relevant to the government, who is not looking out for the communities who've been there for a long time, and that's why there's this displacement, and therefore you add in new people into the mix, and that's going to create tensions. It's like I give the best analogy for this. It's like you have the first child, right? And then the next child comes along. All the attention goes to that other child, and that other child starts getting angry. It's like, I feel left out. This is exactly this case psychologically, and this is what happened. Yeah. I didn't know if pets did that. I guess they do.
Like some dogs bite like other dogs or kids. Not all.
But so there have been attempts of the government. Well, here we have like in June 2025. Prime Minister Keir Starmer faced backlash for initially dismissing calls for a national inquiry into grooming gangs as well, labeling such demands as aligning with the far right. That's a term I tend to have an issue with, just like the far left.
Right,
it's a buzzword nowadays.
The way it was
termed. However, following the publication of the Casey Review, which endorsed the need for full investigation, Starmer reversed his stance and announced the establishment of a national inquiry with statutory powers to compel witnesses and conduct localized investigations. So this is, of course, what was occurring in the UK, because there was a whole scandal with that. That was overlooked for a long time, especially by local authorities. They weren't looking into this, and then this was escalated more into like an issue about the Islamization of the United Kingdom, which again, that's now deflecting to a totally different thing, because now you're not looking at why is this criminal network or a development occurring, and instead you're focusing on like a cultural attribute, because the thing is. And I think that's what politicians always tend to do. They tend to deflect because it's easier. To some extent,
instead of dealing with the issues at hand, or asking the right questions, like we mentioned on the previous live stream. Like, they need to investigate further what's going on. Why are these kids doing this?
So, once again, Starmer, he's not very popular right now, especially in the UK, because he's not being very genuine. And his reversal is definitely less genuine about the concern for the victims and more about political maneuvering. And this is raising questions about the sincerity of the government's commitment to justice in such cases. And I mean, that goes without saying, regardless what side you're on, left or right, it's always an issue. Um, and again, like I can't stress enough that he's labor, so he's on the left. So there's a lot of people who vote. You would have expected. They expected, yeah. And then of course, then you have the right or the conservatives who are attacking him because they're saying, well, this is a cultural issue. And in my opinion, I think that's just trying to look over. You're looking at it in too much of a broader scope, and you're not like looking at it in more detail. With these types of things, with any crime, you have to look at it in more detail to find the root of it, and that's what's not really being done. And again, I say that it is not surprising because the UK, and this is including Northern Ireland, amongst other countries, by the way, Belgium, Portugal, the Netherlands, Poland. These countries are very well known for their rampant trafficking and child abuse. And yes, oh my God, I haven't heard about that. Well, guess why? Because they don't like talking about it, because it's bad for business or bad for, for tourism, bad for this stuff. But they have a history. And this history isn't just allocated just because of like two Romanian kids, or because of like some grooming gangs that happen to be run by some people who were Muslim British, right? It's also rampant amongst a lot of other there's been networks. That's what I'm saying. So we're gonna hopefully touch upon that a bit better when, as I mentioned, because we are planning a video which goes deeper into this, because it also goes deeper into the fact that Ukraine has been known as one of the major hubs for trafficking. Before Ukraine was known because of Zelensky or because of the whole conflict and the war there, Ukraine was universally known as the major hub for trafficking, human trafficking.
Is that for prostitution or?
For selling, for organ harvesting, for everything. It's horrible, but it was known as that place. I mean, there were jokes made.
That's crazy.
In fact, this goes back. We're going back decades. This goes back like even before the 90s. It was known that Ukraine was like where life was cheap, and they would sell women. They would sell, like, if you were impoverished, this would happen. And it was through a European. There were these European channels in which this happened. And it was through,
that's
through
messed
prostitution, pornography, but this was all sort of like a cover, or modeling, yeah. Sorry to start off with such a horrible topic, but anyway, there's also the Spain protests. We got a lot to cover, folks. Actually, but we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes soon, because there's a lot that happened this week. Again, we kind of touched upon this, but not more protests, of course, because Europe is up in flames. Pedro Sanchez's government is on fire. People are calling him out for corruption and shady deals. The catalyst, alleged influence by his family, plus the amnesty pact with Catalan separatists to keep him in power. If people don't know, Catalan is the more southern region of Spain that has always been pushing for independence. It's a big issue of contention for a while now. But where was I at? Yeah, so there's been tens of thousands on the streets, and it's somehow turned into riots. People saying enough is enough. The PP, which is more of like a kind of center-right traditional conservative party.
It called the People's Party, something like that.
Yeah, the I think it's the Popular Party. That's what it's called. And they have one in Portugal too. That's how you know how far back this goes. This party, they're more like the conservatives, but a bit more center right. And Vox, which is the sort of the new right party that came up, they're using this as an opportunity, of course, to expose the socialist government, their policies, and obviously the leader, because he is from the PSOE, which is the Spain's center-left Spanish Socialist Workers' Party, which currently leads the national government. One of the more significant parties, like you always have the
it's
PP
like
is
two
one,
main
and
parties,
then
usually 2 or 3.
Right. And Pedro Sanchez has been prime minister since 2018 and the head of the PSOE.
Quite a while.
So he's
7 years.
Right. So it's kind of ironic how you have these. It's interesting because usually you have had probably at the turn of the year, or just before the turn of the year, there was a lot of like I would say, pushback against some of these new right candidates coming up. Meloni. There's also been, the pushback against the AfD in the German area, also in Austria. But now we're seeing actual left-leaning or left politicians and parties like, Keir Starmer in the UK, and now Pedro Sanchez in Spain, and they're getting just as much flack too. So it goes to show you that, look, corruption is unbiased.
You have all the left, and suddenly you have all the right, all the left, all the right. Matter. Everybody's like pissed off at all of them.
Because I'm always hearing people wanting to go after the right. And granted, there's valid criticism there, but it's like the left is just not. They're equally as not as good.
Bad,
So I think the problem is that people have to see that there's a lot of it. Like when you're talking about the establishment of politics, there's a lot of like collusion and a lot of corruption going, especially because all of these people have vested interests. It doesn't matter. They don't look at this. They work for the party, and the party is kind of like a corporate entity that functions in favor of the individuals who are the lobbyists, special interests, and any foreign powers or foreign investors. Excuse me. So there were rallies that were organized by the Conservative Popular Party, backed by the PP leaders like Alberto Núñez Feijóo. And this is, of course, as I mentioned, Spain's main center-right Conservative Party. Sanchez himself has been facing a lot of parliamentary grilling. Yeah, here you go. You can see all these people. It's absolutely insane. The scandal itself, it's all to do with his inner circle. He's been alleged to be giving, kickback. There were these kickback schemes involving former Transport Minister José Luis Ábalos and his aide Koldo Garcia. He's had a lot of basically it's all to do with money. At the end of the day, it comes down to money, and it sparked a lot of fractures within his own party right now. And the coalition. So here's another, there's potentially there's a Sumar PSOE coalition, and there's potentially going to be another breakdown of another coalition, which again, the pattern emerges, Germany, Netherlands, all the coalitions breaking apart. So there might be, there's speculation in the press at the moment for snap elections, which may be imminent. Once again,
there you go again.
No surprises. We're seeing the trend this year. So I'm out of sync. I have to refresh. Okay, hold on a second.
Just hang on a sec. Bird will be right back so we can get more into this. He's back, and I'm joining. Yeah.
Am I okay? Am I in sync now?
You're all good. You're all good.
Well, because I was just when was this that I wasn't? Yeah,
you weren't out of sync for me as far as I can tell, but it's fine.
Okay, because I just was given in the chat. I was just told I was out of sync. Let us know if I'm out of sync. I think we lost some people maybe because of that. I apologize, but let us know. Inform us if we're out of sync, because otherwise we don't know. Anyway, so that was what's next. There are going to be judicial developments. There's expected formal testimonies from Ábalos, Garcia, as well as Serdan, another associate. And there's a potential snap election. The potential international implications of this, of course, is that the situation may influence the EU-level discussions on corruption regulation and Spain's government stability. Well, I don't really have much faith in the EU-level discussions on corruption regulation.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because the EU is already facing a lot of tremendous inquiry in regarding to its non-transparency with allocation of funds, not only to NGOs, but also right now in how they're trying to funnel money into this new defense plan. So, which we've covered, of course, in the rise of the EU. Maybe that's why they said that our video was election interference. I still don't understand how.
We're stating our mind. Is that what they don't like?
I mean, we're just reporting what's being said. Like we're not saying like you should vote this way or that way. Yeah, like whatever.
I don't know. Maybe. I'm not saying they have, but what if they have their own like interests, and that's why we're being censored?
YouTube,
or we can't advertise. YouTube is Google, and
yeah.
I'm not saying they are. I'm just like asking questions. I'm like,
No, valid. I mean, it's true. Who knows?
yeah,
Let me just check if we're
we don't
still
want
in
this video
sync.
being censored, so we have to be careful what we say
This one.
about it.
I don't think. I don't think. It won't matter anyway, because I used to be before we started all of this. I used to be one of the. I mean, she's no longer the CEO, but I was one of the biggest critics of Susan Wojcicki. I couldn't stand her. Ever since
Who's
she was the CEO at one point for
okay.
YouTube, and she only got that job because she was friends with the Google guys. She gave them her garage, and there's a lot of weird stuff with her. But anyway, she's no longer the CEO. But ever since she became, like, I think after 2015 or something, it kind of YouTube went downhill. It was just always problems and stuff like this, and but yeah. So I'm no stranger to criticizing like these people. I'm just checking if we're in sync now.
Yeah.
Let me know if anybody's out there. So anyway, this is leading into something which we didn't really go over, which is obviously go ahead edge the anti-tourism protests.
Yes. So we were just talking about the Spanish election. Well, not elections, but like people protesting all over there. And so this leads on to anti-tourism protests. And in Spain, they've been having a lot of issues, not just, let's say, with British tourists, but over here we have an article that talks about it.
Yeah. So this was recently, June the 15th. Hundreds in Barcelona and Palma de Mallorca hit the streets armed with water pistols and protest banners like "Tourism steals our bread, homes, and future." I mean, this coincides exactly what you brought up again. Like it's a general consensus, I think, across Europe. There's no focus on youth employment, job market, housing prices, gas and electric price, everything, right, and food prices, right? Sure. There's no focus on this from the different governments. Whoa, yeah, play it. Let's have a look. Yeah, the different governments that constitute the EU.
This was
and people are getting fed up. People are getting fed up. And I think what is the case is that they're fed up because tourists, and in this case, they're probably talking about people who are just visiting. And a lot of southern states in Europe are completely geared for tourism. They literally make up, I think, more than 60 to 70% of their revenue comes from tourism.
GDP.
Yeah, and the thing is, this pushes up rent prices. It displaces local communities. And it basically kills the culture. And what I mean by culture is like places where people are attracted to because there's this culture there, whether it's Lisbon, whether it's Paris, whether it's Barcelona, whether it's whatever. It's pushing away the more local elderly and as well as the youth communities there, which, you know, youth communities, they don't make as much money, right? They're there and they're that's where culture comes from, right? You got the youth and the different subcultures and the different things, and then the creativity and all this stuff, and that's what generates that interest, right? Like in Berlin, etc. But what happens when you start bringing in a lot of like rich investors and tourism, it starts displacing that.
Want to make money out of all of this.
Yeah. And this is the same thing is not just happening in just Spain. This summer, there's activists across 40 plus cities in Spain, Portugal, Italy, and beyond.
Portugal.
And they're all joining the movement with banners that are like Southern Europe Network Against Touristification. This is interesting because this was a massive movement in, for instance, places like Berlin, like several years ago, because especially in the eastern side of Berlin, because they were not liking this sort of gentrification or touristification, basically.
Yeah. And this even occurred in the Canary Islands, funny enough.
But which are part of Spain.
Just been going everywhere. Yeah, but it's like on the other side. Like Mallorca is on the east side, but like Canary Islands are right on the other side. So
this is why I always say, like, when I visit a country, I don't want to be a tourist. I never want to be a tourist. I hate that. I can't
blend in.
I'm gonna say it clearly. I hate tourists. I don't like them. they piss me off. It's just annoying because they're always in the way. I don't care where you are. If
The
I
worst
visit
are tourist traps or people approaching you like you're a tourist, like even in your own country. Dude.
I mean, if I visit a country, right, I try to I try to understand a bit like, okay, where I'm going, get a bit of a grasp of it. And I don't try to act. Yeah.
Exactly. Act like a local, eat local food.
Yeah, and just try to soak up more of the actual local thing. You don't have to go to resorts and all this stuff and like, you know, whatever.
Sure.
And,
I mean, sorry, I just wanted to say that you get tourists who go to like some hotel resort in another country and don't leave this hotel. Like everything is within the hotel. So like, why don't you go to a resort in your own country?
This is
Since
actually,
you're not actually seeing the country.
This is far more prevalent in like Southeast Asia, and also in I believe in like places like in the Middle East where people do that. They don't leave. There's all the luxury there and everything, you know. And actually, I've seen some documentaries where also this touristic industry is displacing a lot of people from those countries too, and it's actually not only environmentally bad too, because it's they reshape and terraform whole places, natural reserves, or places that were very significant to certain communities, you know, of fishermen and stuff, all for the sake of tourism. It's very, very sad. It's very terrible, and this is why I'm not a big fan of the tourist. I'm not a fan of the tourist industry. Sure, if you want to be, you know, I think tourism is completely out of whack now. I think with what we've seen develop on YouTube and stuff with these like, you know, travel vloggers, I think that's more akin to like what people now want, especially like younger generations. They want to like, you know, experience a place. They want to soak up the real life. They want to go to like usually the areas which are not usually advertised as like touristic, you know, like the downtown areas or the older parts, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame, but I'm not surprised that there are people getting fed up with this, because again, there's no attention being made to public services, housing prices, also the environment.
To be honest, I've heard that housing is a big problem in Barcelona because a lot of like investors and tourists and stuff are like using apartments as B&Bs. And the locals can't afford rent anywhere.
Yeah. And there's more hotels being built. There's more, you know, luxury apartments, or luxury. I use the term luxury, but high-end apartments, let's call it that. And anyhow, but this is just an example of how European leaders currently are failing their people, because they're more focused on irrelevant things like building up a ridiculous military industrial complex. Just to remind people,
waste of money.
The European Union was designed for peace, but now it looks like our leaders seem to think it makes more sense to have some massive defense plan and, you know, have a huge military complex that is combined with the industry, because industry isn't making any money either. So let's see where that goes.
Industrial military complex. We have a video on that, by the way. As well.
Anyway, I think we've covered enough of that. I mean, I personally, I don't know. I don't think much will change. And I really, because at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to care. And this is just like, again, it's like right now we're just seeing like, you know, the European people getting fed up. And I see opportunists from all sides of the political aisle trying to take hold of the conversation, and then just try to misalign it. And what it really boils down to is the real social issues that people are going through and what is important to them. Because at the end of the day, people just want to make enough money to go home. They want to have like you know, their own house, their own property. They want to be able to afford food and pay the bills. And that doesn't cut it anymore. There's not even
like our day-to-day life is at stake, and these guys want to build like a whole like military like.
I mean, that will bring money too. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't see it like. And you know, that's how they're twisting it, because that's always the case. You're going to get a lot of business. You're going to get a lot of jobs out of a military-industrial complex. However, people fail to see the long-term effects of this and how this can go wrong very badly. You know, and that's the problem. And I don't know. I don't know who's actually bringing up awareness to this. I mean, there are many people who are protesting against the EU currently, and these are usually some of these newer parties, both on the left and the right, who are criticizing the EU, and perhaps there is validation for their criticism. But then again, I wonder also, like, what are their incentives, and some of them tend to like highlight on some of these other broader topics, which, you know, they kind of use as an umbrella excuse for certain things, when I think it really just boils down to, like I said, the average European citizen just wants, and by that I mean the average citizen within the different European countries, they just want to have a decent quality of life, and they want to also have some hope and opportunities for the future. And right now, it just doesn't really look like that is the case. What we have to look forward into the future right now is just like it looks bleak, unfortunately. So especially for the younger generation. Anyway, we're getting into a serious topic now. This is the next.
So we're going to be talking about the Iran-Israel situation. Now, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking it's been going on for a long time, but especially this week, it's been going nuts. So before we delve into the news and what the mainstream media says, I'd just like to spend like 1 minute or 2 minutes between us.
Yeah.
Like just discussing it, like the way you see it, the way I've seen it.
Right.
Because
it was a kind of a shock. We only kind of found out about this at the end of our last stream.
Yeah.
and then we started getting flack from people like, why didn't you know about this? And it's like, well, we were really busy and we didn't really notice it.
And it happened just a few hours like before. Like we were too busy making content.
Yeah.
We were too busy like editing videos and stuff.
Like it's literally me and Edge mostly doing everything for ENDtv. And like we basically said, like, why did you tell us? Nobody told us. And they're like, did you hear about this?
Our eyes and ears were on editing the videos and stuff.
Yeah, believe it or not, when you're really overconsumed of stuff, it's hard not to like be ready for everything. But yeah, it was a shock, and we even made a highlight shockwave video about that of the following days. So yeah, I don't know. You want to give your? I don't think.
Okay, so the way I see it is that I kind of see both countries, Iran and Israel, a bit like pretty extreme, with extreme leaders, like kind of like megalomaniacs in a way, kind of self-centered, like they don't want to give up power. They're all like political about their countries, but they don't really give a they don't give a shit about the average person, I think, because their policies or their actions would lead to their citizens being killed. So from what I understood is that Israel, or Netanyahu rather, is claiming that Iran is building or manufacturing nuclear weapons, be it outside, be it in underground bunkers. And Netanyahu has been saying this for a long time, maybe like 20 years or something, like they're manufacturing nuclear bombs and stuff. Yeah. Like in 2 weeks, they're going to get a bomb ready. And he's been saying that for many, many years. But I remember Thursday or Friday,
you brought this thing to the UN, which was like, is the shape of a bomb. And he was like saying, this is... It was a big meme. I don't know if you recall that.
No, I don't actually.
Ago. I have to look it up. Carry on. Sorry, I'll look it up.
And so it's a bit like warmongering. Now, if Iran actually has nuclear bomb capabilities, it's quite a concern. But tell you what, Israel, like even the states have like nuclear bombs. Like people aren't really accusing them of it, to be honest. Like they have like a massive nuclear arsenal, and it's okay to like point fingers, but you're not like asking yourself the right question. Like, you know, you're not going to detonate a nuclear bomb, but you're telling the other one, I can build them, but you can't.
There you go. This was a long time ago. You don't remember this?
No. To be honest, I haven't seen that. It's okay. We saw it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So from what I understand is that last Thursday, Friday, Israel conducted a huge military operation whereby they sent lots of jets. I'm talking like in the hundreds to Iran. They bombed lots of like key sites apparently. And now Israel, in retaliation, Iran threw like rockets and missiles to Israel, which is pretty far away, by the way. And they hit places like Tel Aviv and stuff. Now, in Tel Aviv, the Israelis, as far as I know, they all were kind of ready for this and hid in their own bunkers. I'm guessing there's like a bunker every 2 buildings away. So they're like fending for their lives as well, like women and children and men and stuff. And so it's kind of insanity. And like Trump was even saying that they're thinking like the States is thinking of doing the same thing that Israel has, like the Iron Dome, some invisible force field that you see in like some 80s cartoons.
Or like Trump's golden,
Yeah, but the rockets and stuff, as far as we know, some actually went through this force field. And let me like show that as well.
It's a missile defense shield, I think. That's the term, I think, that they give it. I'm not sure.
But like some, I'm not sure if all went through, but like...
Yeah.
I mean, check this out. Wow. This is across Israel, by the way.
Wow.
They were intercepted, though, with the aid of American assistance, believe it or not.
Yeah, you see some blowing up in the sky as well.
I mean, this is crazy. I have a few things I will mention too after.
Yeah. And what's insane is that, as far as I know, Israel, like Netanyahu, he has the help. Well, has the help. He's support, pretty much, he has the support of, let's say, Trump and the States. When I say the States, not the people, the government. And so he's asked from the States for extra aid, specifically for B-2 bombers, so that they can bring them in, so they can detonate like key sites. Like, what's it called? Hang on, I have it here.
No problem. Yeah. Let me know so I can give you my take after on all this. Yeah. What was interesting is how we kind of predicted this in a way in our last stream.
What I want to say is that Israel is claiming that Iran is not only building, let's say, nuclear weapons of mass destruction outside, like on the ground, but also like they have underground like factories manufacturing these nukes, and so they need the help of the States to fly over these like B-2 bombers to basically detonate these massive bombs that are going to go, let's say, 12, like the height of 12 floor buildings, but within, like underneath the surface of the earth to make sure they're all blown up. And have they ever thought that what would happen if you bomb a nuclear weapon? Isn't that thing going to blow? Or the repercussions of it?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to create, you could probably like seismic. There would be seismic consequences because in reality, because it's like you would, destabilize. God knows what it would do under the earth, but.
And on the other hand, like Trump is asking Iran to like sign this nuclear waiver or something to say that they're not building nuclear capabilities, or people to go in and check if they have them or not. But Iran's leader is saying we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And it's tricky.
My view on this is just that, as we were talking about, like how the Ukrainian drones hit a nuclear site in Russia, I said that was going to lead to a bad precedent in the future. That was going to be the sort of that's going to open a can of worms, and it clearly did, because now it shows the case where Israel felt, it was okay to just launch a full-on attack on a sovereign nation, which is Iran, regardless of the regime. And, you know, their preemptive, as they call it, strike was on nuclear sites. And it was also against nuclear scientists and things like this. One thing I have to say that I got very annoyed about with the media recently is that now Iran also retaliated, and there were, you know, there was like 1 or 2 deaths and injuries, obviously, in Israel. But one thing I got very annoyed at, it was the exposure of Israel's attack. Overexposure of Iran's attack on Israel. You know, the damaged buildings and this. But hold on, Israel threw the first stone in this case, and up to 100 people died. Civilians, not targets. Because they presented this at first, and I've talked to some people who think that these were very strategic, precise, targeted. No, up to 100 people were reported by different sources, and that's an estimate, right? Up to, it was like 78 and then 90, but civilians died, women and children, and the damage was even worse. But there's no coverage of that because obviously Iran has to be a monolith. So everyone, including the people, have to be represented as just evil. The evil regime of the Ayatollah, which is absolutely ridiculous because the citizens do not represent the regime, just as the Israeli citizens don't represent Netanyahu's regime. Yeah. There's a lot of Israelis who are right now in protest and criticizing it. It's not only with what's going on in West Bank and Gaza, but it's also with this as well. So this is just for the sake of escalation. I saw a bit of the interview, which we should play here as well, of Netanyahu. And I'm sorry, but the man sounds like a total sociopath. He sounds like a total sociopath with zero regard of human life. And he actually says it. He says it. You're going to hear it here first. He literally he actually speaks in this manner. It's shocking. And the thing is, it's like, you know, you can also be against the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime and claim that it's totalitarian, which it is, okay? Yeah. It's not right. But that doesn't also make the Israeli regime, in this case, Netanyahu, the current one, right? No. Also right, okay? So go ahead, play it. This shocked me.
Let me start with the news that has just come in. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Iran has been urgently signaling that it wants to end hostilities and to resume talks over its nuclear program. According to the journal, they have been sending messages to Israel and the United States via Arab intermediaries. Have you received that message from the Iranians?
It is.
Well, not directly, but I'm not surprised. I mean, they want to continue to have these fake talks in which they lie, they cheat, they string the U.S. along, and you know, we have very solid intel on that. But of course, they want to keep on building their nuclear weapons and building their mass ballistic missile arsenal, which they're firing at our people. They want to continue to create the two.
Now they're firing. That was retaliation, wasn't it? After
existential threats retaliation were drones. While they're talking, that's not going to happen. You know, we're not at the 11th hour. We're at the 12th hour, and we stopped. We acted to secure the life of the nation.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry, but this man is a total sociopath. He's got a smirk on his face.
Lost it. He's got
a smirk on his face.
Yeah, you can see that he's kind of smiling.
He doesn't care. He literally does not care for human life.
About his own people, because they are the ones at risk. He's fine. He's like gonna hide in his
like he could care less about the Israeli people or the Iranian people. He doesn't care. He's just like, let's escalate this shit. Let's escalate. Let's look, it doesn't matter if you think they're fake talks, but talking is talking. It's better than fighting.
It is.
There's never a legitimacy for violence, in my opinion. And in this case, this is absolutely irresponsible of him to make. And then he says they're stringing the U.S. along. Hey, Americans, listen here. Netanyahu thinks that you're pushovers for the Iranian regime. Next time you think, that's what he thinks about the American government, by the way. And they're just pushovers. What does that say? I have a lot to say about that too, because this comes down to Trump right now. And anyway, carry on.
Let's listen more. they were kind of in a period of like doing talks when they bombed Iran,
Yeah.
which is fucking
Oh no, but it was a preemptive strike, so it's okay. Any other nation that would do this, any other country that would do this,
yeah.
one comes to mind. But any other country that does this would be highly condemned by all the world.
And
But
you know what they're gonna call you, right? They're gonna call you I don't want to say the word in case
anti-Semitic.
right.
Yeah, but I don't give a shit, because at the end of the day, if you're going to resort to that,
that's like
if you're going to resort to that, if you're going to have to resort to that by saying I'm
like
anti-Semitic
you
because
use those words.
I'm anti-Semitic because I'm pointing out the fact that the Israeli leader Netanyahu is a complete sociopath.
It's like a warmonger, and he's lost it, and he's sending his own people
who doesn't even care about his own people. I'm anti-Semitic because I care more about the Israeli people than he does, clearly, because I don't want to see Israeli people die, and I don't want to see Iranian people die. So apologies. By the way, I'm not anti-Semitic or anti-Islamic, because I don't want to see nobody die. It's that simple.
Exactly.
But some people want that to happen, clearly, like this lunatic.
Like, he's the one who's blocking aid, like going into Gaza. He's the one.
I don't know what is like.
The Gaza thing still hasn't finished. Like,
I don't.
He's already like starting stuff on.
Well, that's the other problem. They already have enough flack because of what's going on in Gaza and in West Bank. You'd think you'd be smart enough not to escalate that and start new conflicts. Different
fronts all at once.
Yes. Like, this is absolute lunacy. I don't know why. And this whole thing about, they threaten us. Okay, granted. The leadership of Iran has said some wild and crazy things, really wild and crazy things. Don't get me wrong. They are right. But you know what? You've got an intelligence service, and you've got a lot of other elements there, specifically Israel does, to, safeguard yourself. I mean, come on. Does it really bear
They
an
have
excuse?
the intel of the states and stuff. Well, he's claiming that the intel is saying that they've got a bomb, ready in 2 weeks and stuff, but
that's interesting
that for 20 years now.
That's very interesting, because apparently someone disagrees with him, which is the director of national intelligence, which is in Trump's administration, Tulsi Gabbard, who actually is very anti-nuclear war. And she used to be a Democrat. She then ran as an independent, and then she believed in Trump in this presidency. And she ran and campaigned with him because she believed in transparency and also in de-escalation and no more new wars. And we have some videos that I want to put out, because in March of this year, she said that Iran is not believed to be building nuclear weapons. Now, why would she say that? She has access to all the intelligence.
By the way,
she has. This is from Newsweek, and she has the access to all intelligence. She's the director of national intelligence.
If anyone knows, it's her.
Right. And this was in March, right before everything started. Let
me play it. Yeah.
Her operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons.
There you go.
President Trump has said previously.
Anyway.
Well, what's interesting is she said that, and then I think Trump's reaction, we had the video, but that was on I think it was on our Discord. If you can find that.
Give me a sec.
So, by the way, the IC that she's referring to is the U.S. intelligence community, which is obviously comprising of the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, all of these things. Okay, so just in case people weren't familiar with that abbreviation. So on the Discord, if you go to, I think here in our news tips, one of our members posted this video.
Oh, that's why I didn't see it, because it was
where it was. If you can show that video, because it shows Trump's reaction to this. Because the thing is, I got a lot to say about Trump, but yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But basically,
I'm gonna share it now.
Cool. Because basically, it's a repeat of what she just said, right? And she also posted on social media this like anti-nuclear arsenal armament video. No, this wasn't it. Hold on. Yeah, I have to find it for you. Hold on. Here, it's this. I'll forward it to you. Yeah, there you go.
Is it the one on X?
No, it's on Discord. It's on Discord because it was an uploaded video.
Oh, yeah,
that one. So I
remember that.
Yeah, that's the video. Because in that video you have Trump's reaction. I mean, I just forwarded it to you on DMs.
Give me a sec.
No problem. But yeah, she's basically been an advocate against nuclear war. And, you know, she's been painted as being a Russian agent or propagandist because basically she's saying that, you know, why we shouldn't escalate things. And, you know, especially with great powers who have nuclear abilities. This is previously, and she posted something on social media too. And I mean, I can do it myself. I can share it as well if you want.
Yeah, if you can, because
it's
I
easier
can't share my Discord because everybody's going to see my contacts and everything.
Yeah, that's the only problem. It doesn't matter.
I can't download it, but yeah.
Wait, you just have to put full screen, and here we go. All right, there we go. I have to put the volume up, I guess.
Yeah,
here we go.
Go for it.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Wait, this wasn't it. Okay, now I'm confused.
Yeah, because
there was Trump's
reacting.
Trump's reaction. Hold on. Oh God! Wait. Hold on.
Let me get it. Let me find it. I'll find it. Okay.
West posted it. That's the thing.
Hang on a sec. I think I've got it.
Basically, he was on a plane or something.
It's brand new. Yeah. Check it out.
This one. Yeah. There you go. Yep. So I sense it. Okay, but we don't actually hear it. Is he actually talking this or what? No, this is just one of these wacky videos. It doesn't give you the actual. No, wait, hold on. Let me find it again. It's so annoying. Hold
what was
on.
it? Here as well.
Try this one, yeah.
Of a Republican administration that attacked a Middle East country on the idea of questionable intelligence of weapons of mass destruction. How is this moment different with Iran?
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. I never thought there were. And that was somewhat pre-nuclear. You know, there was a nuclear age, but nothing like it is today. And it looked like I'm right about the material that they've gathered already. It's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen. I was very much opposed to Iraq. I said it loud and clear, but I was a civilian, but I guess I got a lot of publicity. But I was very much opposed to the Iraq war. And I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But they didn't do that.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
I'm
Director
sorry.
of National Intelligence.
What?
Well,
Where is he getting his intelligence from then?
Who in the intelligence community said that?
Again,
They are at this point.
This is literally the flip
Intelligence
of
community
Bush.
is wrong. Who in the intelligence
Bush Jr.
community said that?
They're like
Director of
saying
National
weapons of mass
Intelligence,
destruction,
Tulsi Gabbard.
you know, and everybody's saying what, and then they go in. It's literally the reverse. Now they're saying like there's nothing there, and it was just like, yeah, there is something there. Who told you? Let me guess. Was it Bibi on the phone? Bibi Netanyahu? He told you like, no, there's stuff there. Oh, who told you? Oh, it's our, you know, it's our incentive to go. Sorry to say this. A little known fact, by the way, Israel was actually, when I say Israel, obviously I mean the state. Israel was actually one of the biggest proponents for pushing the US to invade Iraq, by the way, back in the time of Saddam Hussein, where they displaced Saddam Hussein and they went on that whole narrative of weapons of mass destruction. Yeah. Believe it or not, Israel was one of the major proponents pushing United States on that intelligence as well. So no surprises where Trump's getting his intelligence in this case. And his intelligence, so right now, a lot of people are falling out with Trump. Some of the biggest people who have campaigned with him and helped him reach the presidency. We already had the Elon Musk bromance collapse. Trump is even hitting back against Tucker Carlson, who's known as a conservative media pundit, who's very critical about this whole attack on Iran. So Trump's firing back against him too, and he was also pivotal in Trump's campaign. And I'm really expecting either Tulsi is going to, who was also pivotal too. She was campaigning hard with him.
And in fact, she went to Hiroshima recently.
She's either going to get fired or there's something going to happen. I don't know what's going on with Trump. He's lost the plot, like literally lost the plot.
Like initially, it seemed like he was thinking about like helping Israel or not, but like now he's done like a. Yeah,
this is what
decided. It seems
this is what I want to unpack with Trump. If you know that section we have, I would love to go into that. But yeah, let's see this because this is important, I feel, about Tulsi Gabbard so people understand.
They were kind of accusing her, I think it was. Let me just play it.
They're accusing her of Russian propaganda again. Like, it's not playing.
Sharing. Give me a
You're sharing over.
Should I play it? Should I play this one?
Yeah,
is the reality of what's at stake, what we are facing now. Because as we stand here today, closer to the brink of nuclear annihilation than ever before.
You're at the end already.
Political elite and
Yeah, well, this is just her like visiting Hiroshima recently.
Okay, yeah, right.
So she's just saying that it's a big risk, like dealing with like stuff with nukes and stuff, but she said that they haven't got nukes, you know.
Right, so, and if people don't remember, I think it was Tucker Carlson on Joe Rogan last year, and he was highly critical of the American nuclear bombs dropping on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and a lot of conservatives were like Ben Shapiro particularly was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" He was like, he was freaking out, like, that's the reason that the war ended. Well, newsflash, the war didn't end because of the United States dropping 2 nuclear bombs. I mean, it helped bring awareness of like how crazy everything got to. But
I mean, Shapiro is like an Israeli fanatic in a way, but he lives in the States, so he's okay.
But the thing is, he was criticized heavily by a lot of conservatives and right-wing people because they were saying like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? If we had never dropped those bombs, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But the thing is, Tucker Carlson's also kind of a humanitarian. Believe it or not, I know there's going to be people on the left who don't like him, but believe it or not, he is a humanitarian. He doesn't want to see people die. He doesn't want people to suffer. He's mentioned that a number of times. In fact, he's even said there's some socialistic policies that he could actually bank on.
He's just not for like Fox News, right?
And previous to that, he was on CNN. But the point here, the real divide isn't. Wait, let's read that out so people can see. The real divide isn't between people who support Israel and people who support Iran or the Palestinians. The real divide is between those who casually encourage violence, I totally agree, and those who seek to prevent it. Between warmongers and peacemakers. Who are the warmongers? They would include anyone who's calling Donald Trump today to demand airstrikes and other direct U.S. military involvement in a war with Iran. On that list, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch, obviously owner of Fox Media. He's not Fox. Sorry, no, he is. Is it Sky? Sky News and Sean Hannity, who's obviously one of the biggest commentators and on Fox News. Mark Levin is on Fox News now. I think he has a show, but he's a big, strong, staunch, traditional conservative.
In 23, Murdoch stepped down from Fox
Corporation, right? Yeah, because they sold News Corp or something, I think, over to yeah. But he doesn't own Sky News as well. I think he might own Sky News as well.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think.
He owns
anyway, Rupert Murdoch has a long history with. By the way, he has a long history with Trump too. We're going back into the late 80s, like definitely. But the point is, I wholeheartedly agree with what Tucker Carlson is saying here. You might not like Tucker Carlson's like conservative values and stuff, but you know what? I call it what it is. If someone says something right, I don't care where they're from, like or what they are. But he's calling it out, and he's been highly critical about this, and so am I. I believe I am so as well, because I don't agree at all. I think this is disgraceful. Like I mentioned, the sort of wanton disregard of Iranian lives.
Just
don't get me wrong. I also feel it's terrible that 2 Israelis died, but we're talking about up to 100 Iranians that died, and that gets hardly any. They don't talk about that as much as like how horrible that is. And this is Stephen Bannon. Stephen Bannon, obviously, he was also owner of Breitbart. He was a significant advisor at one point for Trump in the first presidency. He's been accused as being like a proponent of the alt-right, which is this like say what you will of the alt-right, but the point is he's been very critical, mostly about the lobbyism between the United States and Israel, and that's I think why he's been labeled as such. Ben Shapiro doesn't like him, and there's all these fractures within the right, but anyway, but he's kind of like, play this. It's intriguing.
I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person, and I am saying this because
it doesn't go higher.
I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire. Obviously, other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. And so that's why I'm saying this.
What do you mean by that? That's coming from you. That's
look, I knew Bush. I knew George W. Bush. We had, family connections to Bush. I knew Bush. Personally, I still see Bush sometimes. And, of course, he hates me.
He knows a lot of people.
And
he hates him
because I criticized him on Iraq. And that war is the sum total from a historical perspective of his administration. But I knew him, and he had all kinds of plans for the things that he wanted to do. But once domestically right. to improve the country. Right. And you may agree or disagree, but like in his mind, he wasn't just
what they all say.
About the invasion.
Yeah.
So he brings up something of relevance. It's the end of the American empire. Newsflash, it's already the end of the American empire. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. The end of the American empire died already with the previous election, 2022. Actually, COVID also contributed to that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
As for Trump's presidency, this is what we can highlight now if we show this. Trump has postured himself as wanting to have a legacy as being the president of a peacemaker. Trump has highly criticized in the past, during the campaign and previously, that under Biden and Kamala Harris, the world was blowing up. And it was virtually, right?
Yeah.
He also criticized that under Kamala Harris, now that's disregarding her because she's another kettle of fish, but I don't care. We're going by Trump.
Can of worms.
We would go into World War III. Well, Mr. President, you ain't doing a good
for
job.
the armed forces, and that he wouldn't start any other wars.
And I liked him at least to that extent because it was true under his first term, no new wars. He tried to bring some stability, But I'm sorry to say, what's going on right now is potentially 10 times worse than I've seen in the last couple of decades under the last few presidents.
I want to say
Whatever
something.
He's doing wrong. And we've got major escalation between Ukraine and Russia. And now we've got another major escalation. And by the way, guess what's looming on the horizon? Which we don't have enough to report it on, but what's looming on the horizon will be China and Taiwan very soon. And what is President Trump doing? He's so passive. He's just.
At least he brought micro. At least he brought the silicone manufacturing company to make them in the States. Because
that's what Biden did with the chips. That's what they say. Yeah, but that's what they did. That's what they say about Biden. Oh, yeah, at least he brought chips over in trade.
He's bringing the chips. President Trump, casino pairs, bring the chips home.
President Trump is doing a disgraceful job. Absolutely. You are supposed to be the supposed leader of the free world, right? The United States of America, everyone looks up to. Well, let me tell you something, another thing, right? And we have got some clips because I want to support this with justification here so people know that I'm not just talking out of my ass. Because here's the thing, right? President Trump kept on saying how he was going to resolve it in 24 hours. He was going to sort this out. He was going to go in there. This and this and this and this. And nothing has happened. If anything, he's only inflamed things further. He hasn't helped it. And you know how he used to claim that under Obama and under nobody respects Obama, nobody respects Biden and stuff.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump, I hate to break it to you. The world leaders don't respect you. That's the reality. Because right now, you ain't doing shit. You don't listen to your director of national intelligence. You don't make any significant moves. Nobody knows what's going on. You're having a breakup with a guy who wasn't even in your administration, Elon Musk, which becomes headline news. What the heck is going on?
Initially,
this is a joke.
They had some sort of partnership, and then it kind of breaks up.
I don't know what's so problematic of just simply saying, you know what, Mr. Netanyahu, stop what you're doing. Stop right now. We're
not giving you any help because you started.
No, it's not just not giving you any help. Just stop what you're doing. It's not right. People, enough. No people should die. Hey, you know what we should do? If Iran wants to talk, let's go talk to Iran. Let's bring everybody onto the table. Everybody. Let's bring the Saudis. Let's bring the Israelis. Let's bring the Russians. Let's bring the Chinese. On board. Let's bring them all onto the table.
Huge group and see what they have to say afterwards.
Why don't we do that? I don't see. Where is this so-called peace? No, what is it? Strength. What is it? Peace through strength. I see none of this right now. Right now, I'm sorry, but the United States of America is a laughingstock, and they're like in this hyper bubble. Those there who think oh no, this is it's bad. It's bad, and they're not even cognizant of this. And
it is terrible.
And President Trump is basically a heel. He's doing nothing. He's literally doing nothing.
Yeah.
He's like flip-flopping. Firstly, distancing from the attacks on Iran, but saying, "Oh, that was good," and then saying that he will support, and then now threatening Iran as well that he's gonna blow them. Oh, it's gonna be even worse, or like what the heck is going on here? What are we doing, folks?
One of the worst things is that he spoke to Netanyahu earlier in the week or last weekend, and the outcome of it was him telling Tehran to evacuate the whole city.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think that sounds like? It sounds like they're gonna drop a fucking bomb.
A nuke. Yeah.
Exactly. Am I paranoid if he says evacuate the city? What does that mean?
That's it. This is madness.
What does that mean?
This is the capital of Iran. You're gonna
another country evacuate your city?
Yeah.
Are you fucking insane?
Yeah. It's nuts.
Mad? Are you mad?
No, this is madness.
Not just what goes on in that country, but the repercussions of this globally.
Yeah.
You're not just putting your own country at war or something or at risk. You're putting everyone at risk. You fucking mental fuck. I'm sorry, you fucking asshole. We do not want World War III.
Let it out.
You motherfucker. Really,
no, because this is the problem. By doing nothing and by not actually being the representative he should be in these instances and making the hard choices, which sometimes you have to do by actually calling out someone who's supposed to be an ally, but he's saying like, no, this is not right. Like, he knew about the strike before it happened. Like, what in his mind said that was a good idea? This is madness. And
like,
the thing
out
is,
of all countries in the world, like if they rank all the countries like on the internet on different websites, they put the states like by far as the military force. And the thing is though, is that like after 9/11 with Bush, they had like the grand tour of the Middle East. They had Afghanistan, they had Iraq, they had Iran. Now, a lot of this was uncalled for, and they spent loads of money in the Middle East, like for oil and for different interests. So they put a lot of like military in the Middle East,
a lot of bases,
which was probably uncalled for. But now we have Trump, and sure, he got voted in for not doing anything. But the thing right now he has to do something.
That is exclusively why he was voted in. He was voted in even by liberals because he was supposed to be the peacekeeping president. He was supposed to be the president. This is exactly like the irony of the EU right now.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
fix the slide.
Trump was supposed to be starting no new wars. I mean, he hasn't technically started any new wars, but that's the problem. Indirectly, he's not
sort it out before it gets too late, before this thing escalates, because who knows what's going to happen. Israel has nukes. Newsflash.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, we've already seen that they are not like now, like I said, the precedent has been set because Zelensky, Ukraine set that precedent that, you know, all cards off the table now. All cards on the table. It's, you know, it's anybody's guess. Anybody can do anything now. There's no rules of engagement. It's just whatever. You know, ironically enough, just the similar situation of like how Ukraine spent a whole year of, you know, surreptitiously infiltrating, you know, like with a Trojan horse into those Russian sites. Well, the Mossad and Israel, sorry, not Israel, the Mossad and the IDF were doing exactly the same thing. You know, these strikes, they didn't just happen randomly. This was like, you know, planned way long ahead of time. And so, you know, a lot of his base are getting annoyed. In fact, a lot of his base don't agree. It's been reported by Sky News Australia, which also tends to be conservative, but they're not happy. And, you know, this whole thing of war with Iran has been kind of like an issue on everybody's mind since Iraq, because people always said there was always that thing, which is like Iran is next. They want to go after Iran. The war hawks, the neocons, the neolibs, they want to go after Iran. That's the big one, the big part of the pie.
Always has to be an enemy. They always have to like deal with some conflict in the world.
And you know, for the longest time. And now we're headed in this direction. And I'm telling you, look, to the world leaders out there, nobody's going to, they don't watch this or anything like this. But to the world leaders out there, you all need to shut the fuck up and sit down. You're a bunch of children running around and your people just want this shit to end. By the way, I'm talking on behalf of Russians, Israelis, Ukrainians, Palestinians, and Iranians, and whoever else is in a conflict right now. They don't want bloodshed. People are fed up. There's a lot more important things that they care about than having to see other people die and other people suffer on behalf of stupid reasons, okay? So maybe everybody needs to just chill out. I don't know.
For real.
I don't know, but there's nobody's actually, you know, nobody's bringing this up. It's and people are getting fed up too. Because this is just annoying at this point. Like, we're all sick of it. It's like, what are we going to gain from this? Nobody's gaining from this. Oh, well, except for, obviously, the military-industrial complex.
That's for sure. So over here we have
you want to read?
Bernie Sanders. So he says, Netanyahu started this war by attacking Iran. He assassinated Ali Shamkhani, Iran's lead nuclear negotiator. He assassinates the negotiator. deliberately sabotaging US-Iran nuclear negotiations. The US must not be dragged into another illegal Netanyahu war, either militarily or financially.
So this is what I mentioned, that they were, I think Netanyahu was in power at that time too. It was like he was a proponent of, obviously, going into Iraq. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's what Bernie Sanders is referencing. Mind you, Bernie Sanders, who's been labeled a socialist, because he kind of is, but he's more of a social democrat. He's on the left. So, you got Tucker Carlson and Bernie Sanders on two sides agreeing on the same thing and saying stuff which we both agree with here. So it's nothing to do with political alignment here, folks. It's just the reality. It's just the fact of speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
Ron Paul, who's on another point of the aisle, he's a libertarian. He's always been a libertarian. He ran for president as well.
Yeah.
And he says here, just hours before a massive Ukrainian operation targeting Russian strategic bombers deep inside Russia, which is what we highlighted in our last stream, Senator Lindsey Graham and his colleague Senator Richard Blumenthal were in Kiev, again urging Ukraine to keep fighting, because more than half of the Ukrainian population, as polled, right, wanted to end. As President Trump has reportedly stated that his policy is to end that war, why is a U.S. senator undermining official U.S. foreign policy? And how involved was he and other neocons in the administration? So here's an interesting thing. Ron Paul, at first, like a lot of independents, there's the independent journalist, investigator, Whitney Webb as well. They all kind of were in support of Trump in the early days of the campaign and stuff, because he was running on the ticket of like, well, we got to end these wars. We can't have the world blowing up everywhere and la 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 la.
There was like a big economical issue as well, like financially, and why do it anyway?
And Ron Paul was kind of also on his side. But then when they started seeing like who was being put into the administration and all these connections, not only Ron Paul was like raising the alarm, and he had been in the very beginning, like he was tweeting this out, and even on his show he was bringing this up. Whitney Webb was also exposing the fact of this as well, which goes into a bigger ordeal here, because we're not only talking about the military industrial complex, but also there's deeper elements to all of these things, believe it or not. And this isn't like you need the tinfoil hat or anything, but you start noticing how there's a lot of ties to things from Palantir, BlackRock, Vanguard, and how that plays into all of these lobbyism for armaments, for pharmaceuticals, media, etc. It's crazy, but
yeah. So I can't really share this because it's kind of blocked. But
which one is it? Send it to me. Maybe I can. What is it? Washington Post?
Washington Post. I'll send it to you in the chat here.
Yeah, I might be able to let me see how.
But they're talking about like Israel needing the US's help to bomb Fordow, which is the underground supposed manufacturing, let's say, factory of nukes of Iran. But this is all alleged, right?
This is. I mean, what are the updates currently? Like, maybe we should mention just something, because we need to take a little break, because I gotta. What are the? So there are a few updates, because obviously the world is all reacting differently, right? And we have questions here, like, obviously the question is like, will Trump jump in? How does it impact the economy? For instance, oil prices. You brought that up, right? Because that's what they were going. He brought that up as well. He's like, I told them they should have taken the oil, stuff like that.
What do you think is going to happen to oil? Like, we're talking about war here in the Middle East. Like, they're going to restrict the supply. The price is going to go up. But there's also a specific issue here when it comes to oil. And that's...
Are you talking
about blocking... give me a second. What's it called?
I don't know what you're referring to, so I can't help you there.
Yeah.
But
it's like blocking a passageway, a
corridor.
For transport
the like the pipeline, or is that what you mean? Or I'm not. I think it's a corridor is what you're talking about. A key economic corridor.
It's the Strait of Hormuz, basically.
Oh, is this okay? Right, that's like a key, trade corridor. So yeah, that's what you're.
Example,
I think that's what you're talking about.
This over here. So we're talking about like it's going to impact like everything globally. So, for example, China is importing like half of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz, and it's going to impact like manufacturing and a lot of countries and like more than they can ever imagine. As you know, China makes everything in the world.
There is the One Belt, One Road initiative that China has been trying to push, obviously, which we covered in our video on China, which actually kind of like fits with this. So they're obviously going to be concerned in terms of what's going on. And I think they've been actually pushing for calmness on the situation and try to mediate because they don't want to see like, any further disruption.
Yeah.
But basically, what can we say more about this? So there have been discussions at the G7 in Washington to a real possibility of U.S. engagement. This is a U.S. engagement militarily alongside Israel. But this is still not fully clarified. Analysts are troubled of how quickly such actions have escalated. Investors fear right now the U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran conflict, which could affect the stock markets. Obviously, it will. Oil prices will rise sharply if the U.S. attacks Iran. This will impact, obviously, the global economy. And the dollar gains as investors seek safe haven. Now, there is likely, to some capacity, U.S. involvement in this if Israel ramps up. Special through.
Can I share a video now? Can I just?
I'm just going to finish on the fact that like this will be definitely so because of special operations or assistance through air strikes or the sanctions. And I don't think the U.S. will be necessarily going into a full-scale ground war like they did with Iraq, but definitely there's going to be like some sort of like buffer in terms of like everything that they will provide in terms of support. And I think in terms of the economy, this will elevate the energy costs for everybody, not only the U.S., but this is also going to be, I think it's going to add inflationary pressure and slower growth. And I think this is going to create some problems. But go ahead. This is the video that you wanted. What is this in relation to?
It's in relation to Fordow, like the factory they're thinking of like nuking or something. Not nuking, but it's like sending a bomb to destroy it.
Basically, okay.
But I don't know like how true it is or anything.
Yeah, and this is where Trump is signaling direct support for this, and where he may authorize limited strikes to where you just suggested, for instance, Fordow. And
really appreciate you. Fordow is protected by 80 to 90 meters of rock, nearly 300 feet down, with at least 5 tunnel entrances carved into the mountainside, granting access to the complex. It's like a vault built for the apocalypse. When Western intelligence first exposed Iran's Fordow nuclear facility in 2009, global leaders immediately saw through Tehran's claims of a peaceful nuclear program. The facility's secretive, highly protected design simply didn't match that peaceful narrative. Instead, everything about Fordow indicated that it was specifically built for one critical purpose: secretly enriching uranium, possibly even assembling nuclear warheads. It is so deeply buried and heavily fortified that even Israel's most powerful bunker-busting weapon, the American-made GBU-28, struggles to destroy it. For context, the GBU-28 is designed to penetrate roughly 100 feet, about 30 meters, of solid rock or reinforced concrete under ideal conditions. But Fordow lies nearly 3 times deeper than that, and this is exactly why Fordow remains such a massive threat today. You see, during the opening strikes on June 13th, Israel did attempt to target Fordow, but the results were disappointingly ineffective.
Well, no shit. they say it's like 300, so why'd you go there in the first place? Like, I'm sorry, like, you go there, what do you expect? Like, to be honest, I don't know if their claims are legit or not. Like, who knows?
The problem right now is that everybody's going by whatever they choose to do. This is, again, like what, I think, was it Ron Paul who mentioned this? On the basis of, like, who are you believing? So we're supposed to believe Netanyahu's intelligence, but everybody else is saying this isn't the case. Like,
but we can't trust like the head of intelligence in the States as well, who says like there isn't a threat.
Well, it's not only
we believe Netanyahu, but we don't believe the head of intelligence in the States.
It's not only the director of DNI over there. It's also intelligence from Europe. It's also intelligence from Russia. It's also intelligence from other places. So nobody's taking into account this is the same thing that was like with Iraq. Like nobody's listening to them, but we're just listening to one niche group of intelligence, and they're saying this is true. And then you know what? I'm gonna get like flashbacks again. Oh, the intelligence was off. Sorry. Too bad. So much death and destruction. All in the name of a clerical error. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, Trump's core base is war weary about this because they're not happy. Nothing is being done about it. We didn't really show the clips of like Trump's sort of hypocrisy. Maybe we could show a few just to remind people.
Like over the years or what he...
Where is it? Where do we have that? It's... where did we have that? Trump's based at a break? No, Iran. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to open them. Okay, you ready?
Okay, yeah.
All right, I'm just going to... We can share a bit of them.
Just to remind people.
Soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is one of them. Just to remind people what Trump said in the past.
Yeah.
And him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers.
Well,
you can double those numbers, maybe.
Yeah.
I just want to mention something. He did bring up that, like, okay, Russia would have never invaded Ukraine, right? If I was in power, aka Trump, right? Well, apparently there is some source that President Putin came out by saying like, yes, that is true. I don't know. I'm just corroborating like what he said. But here we go. Something else.
Let's go for it.
My proudest legacy
That's at the very
will
beginning.
be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home.
All right. Okay. So.
Yeah, that's another good point to bring up, is that there were these hostages, and Iran was doing a lot actually in favor of like trying to help.
Just say it very boldly.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Let's just run through these.
You could end this Ukrainian-Russia war in 24 hours.
Yeah.
How?
So I know Zelensky very well because he was very honorable with the fake phone call, impeachment hoax #1. They said I made a phone call to him and I was very threatening. I wasn't at all. I was actually very nice. I was congratulating him on a victory. But when they asked him, they said, were you threatened? He didn't even know what they were talking about. He was very honorable. He could have done grandstand. He said, yeah, I felt threatened. He didn't do that. And as you know, I get along very well with Putin. I would tell Putin, got to settle. I would tell Zelensky, you got to settle. I would tell one, you're going to load up with money. I'd tell the other, you're not going to get any money. I would get a settlement in 24 hours.
What is he on The Apprentice?
It should have never happened. You have thousands, hundreds of thousands.
He goes on this rant constantly, and well, that never happened, right? And then there was like the one more, right, where
Iran launched 181 ballistic missiles at Israel, and I've been talking about World War III for a long time, and I don't want to make predictions because the predictions always come true. We're not going to make, but they are very close to global catastrophe. We have a non-existent president and a non-existent vice president who should be in charge, but nobody knows what's going on. She was at a fundraiser in San Francisco. Now, war or the threat of war is raging everywhere, and the two incompetent people running our country, or what, I don't actually think they're even running it, are leading us to the brink of World War III, a war like...
Well, I got news for you.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. What he's referring to is obviously, prior to him, and which prior to 2025, I think it was. Well, there have been different periods of times where there were Iranian ballistic missile launches. Now, in June of, I have a list here. So in June 2017, one of the strikes was in Syria. Target was the ISIS positions in eastern Syria. This was in retaliation for ISIS attacks in Tehran. In September 2018, strike in Iraqi Kurdistan, targeting the headquarters of Iranian Kurdish opposition groups. This was a warning to Kurdish separatists and a show of power to Iraq and the region. January 8th, 2020, attack on the US forces in Iraq. This was a retaliation for the US drone strikes that killed, obviously. This was when Trump was in power. Remember the General Qasem Soleimani when they took him out, and that was, I think he was in a car. So that was a drone strike. So that was retaliation for that. Okay. March 2022, strike in Erbil, Iraq. This was targeting alleged Mossad facility near the US consulate. It claimed it was retaliation for Israeli actions against Iranian interests in Syria. Okay, not cool either that they're doing that. And then there was January 2023, this was the last, right? Previous. This is what he's referring to now in there. Of eastern Syria near Al Omar oil field, targeting militants linked to ISIS and anti-Iranian forces. And the context was a response to attacks on the obviously IRGC positions and allies in Syria. So that is basically the up-to-date ballistic strikes, unless I'm missing something, but I am not familiar of if there were the only missile launches were the ones obviously recently to Iran. To Israel. But again, previous to that, it was always just open threats to Israel.
Yeah.
Just double checking. I'm not.
Shall we just mention briefly, like, what other countries think of this, escalation? So, interestingly enough,
I need to. Yes, I forgot to mention. So this was the other thing. I need to mention. So sorry. There were two operations in 2024 that on April 13th, 2024, Iran did launch a combined drone and missile strike, 300 drones. Cruise missiles and ballistic missiles aimed at Israel. This was Iran's first ever direct attack on Israeli territory. These were reaching targets in the Golan Heights, the Negev air bases, and near Arad as well. They were 99% intercepted by Israeli and allied defenses, and this was True Promise, because you know that the recent retaliation was True Promise 3. So there was True Promise and True Promise 2. I forgot to mention this. The other one was in October the 1st of 2024, where Iran launched approximately 180 to 200 ballistic missiles in two waves against Israeli military facilities, and civilian areas were included too. So this was Iran's second direct missile strike on Israel. So, okay, they are not in the right either. I would just say this is, so they did fire missiles directly and drones at Israel before these attacks. So I guess, but this would have been under over 2025 now, right? This would have been under, I think this was at the end of Biden's term, if I'm not correct. So yeah. But this is where we stand on how the situation is. So we have to look at these things correctly, right? So what they did, equally not good. So we have to look at it that way. But again, I guess you could argue, well, they did it twice, and now Israel's striking, preemptively at these nuclear targets. However, again, in my position, it's like I don't think there's ever any justification. Trump wasn't in power at that time. I think, it sucks that did happen, and that's terrible because of the loss of life or anyone that was injured as well. But I don't think you can justify loss of life of more loss of life. That's just my view. So
that's true.
And but I mean, we have to actually we have to qualify this as being that, well, Iran did throw the first stone in this case. It wasn't in the case of like 2024. So they did try to attack them twice. However, they do have a much more primitive artillery compared to like Israel, as mentioned.
Oh, for sure.
And given the intelligence, they were not building any nuclear weapons. However, that's been disregarded in favor of whatever intelligence, I guess, Netanyahu is getting, where they are apparently. So
let's talk a bit about like what other countries think of, or what their positions are like in this conflict. So here we have an article from Reuters which says that President Putin and Xi Jinping, so basically Russia and China, condemn Israel over its Iran strikes.
In a phone call.
So, in a phone call. Now, so Vladimir Putin proposed like mediating peace talks between Iran and Israel to de-escalate tensions. However, hang on a sec.
I recall what Trump said. There was a thing where Trump was basically saying, like, he told Putin, like, I think you need to sort out that, stay out of this. Basically, he was like,
here. I have that right here. So I think that was a bit like,
which again, I mean, that would be fine if Trump was actually doing something.
Yeah, because he himself is not doing anything. It's like,
no, he's not. He's just inflaming it further.
He's
not. Putin proposes peace talks, but Trump tells him to focus on Ukraine first. I mean, here's the thing. This is gonna. I think this is gonna turn out to be in the similar situation as we have right now in the conflict in Russia and Ukraine, because it's gonna get to a point where now you're getting like Iran saying, okay, we want to have talks, and now Israel's just saying no, and it's gonna be a stalemate, and then who knows what's gonna escalate out of that? I have no idea. But this is why I think it is necessary to bring in these other greater powers, nuclear powers, mind you, to somehow bring some sort of like understanding to the game.
Exactly.
Here.
They need like it's like in Dungeons and Dragons, you need like a dungeon master to kind of like control the situation and put the narrative away, like on the right path.
But and Trump is supposed to be that dungeon master, but he's just not doing. He's just not qualified.
He's a bad dungeon master.
Yeah, he is. At this point in time, he's not really. He's getting too confused with being a player.
So what's also interesting is that a lot of like mainstream media have said that on that, like as soon as Israel like sent the jets to like bomb Iran, that China sent helps and aid to Iran, possibly weapons or something. So China, mainstream media was saying that China sent planes to Iran to provide them with like military help. Now, What's interesting as well is that they also mentioned, hang on, where is it? That the States is providing aid to Israel at the same time.
So this becomes like a proxy war between China and the US.
Well, it is a part of efforts to strengthen operational continuity and support all the IDF's needs, both for achieving the goals of the war and for improving readiness and stockpiles. Since the start of Israel's operation against Iran, 14 cargo planes with equipment for the IDF have landed in Israel. And that's the news coming in that the Israeli Defense Ministry says several cargo planes carrying armaments and military equipment for the IDF landed in Israel.
Again, there's reasoning behind this, and the reasoning is obviously because Iran is included in China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is this massive trade shipping plan that they have, which is all across the Eurasian continent, and Iran is particularly one of a key partner to this because it is a strategic location and the role in its regional connectivity, because people forget that Iran is quite a large landmass actually in the Middle East. And so it plays a significant part in this. So obviously China is like looking out for their interests in like having this, because that, you know, they and I guess that's why.
Yeah. I also want to talk about like India's stance right now. Like,
I think that's pretty important. Yeah.
Because like India recently attacked Pakistan, if you remember.
Yes, under the same illusion of that there was a terrorist threat, and there were those attacks, obviously, at the border in Kashmir.
So like Heisenberg from Breaking Bad said, like, tread carefully.
Yeah.
So they're trying to keep like a balance between all of them, because interestingly enough, India has strong defense and technological ties with Israel, including collaborations in areas such as drone and missile technology. So, but they also have historical energy and trade links with Iran, notably through the Chabahar port project. So yeah, they're just being very careful with the countries.
I think it's significant because India actually could play a massive part in being included in certain talks, because already they do a lot of trade with Russia, for instance. And so, but they're also very strongly allied with the United States. So I think they're a very significant key player right now in this whole geopolitical chess game, because, you know, they have tensions with China, but obviously there's a significant diplomacy and trade interests with Russia. They're big partners with Russia, and at the same time, you know, they want to have diplomatic ties and significant support and connectivity with the United States. And as you just mentioned here, there's definitely some ties they have with Iran. I think that they would be a very good key player in all of this as a mediator. I don't know why that hasn't been brought to the table yet, but they could be of significant use in this regard.
And next, I also want to mention like Pakistan. Like, I saw it myself on the news. There was some fake news like going around the internet saying that if Iran, let's say, sends like an intercontinental like ballistic missile to the States, that Pakistan would basically nuke.
Pakistan is another
Israel or something, but. So it's important to discern the real news.
Yes. So they're another country which has nuclear capabilities, and this is, I think they're part of the whole chart of like the nuclear chart of countries.
Yes.
North Korea is there too, apparently. Now.
But yeah, they're just being very carefully. They're just being very careful at this moment, like.
But you see, this is not unlike the United States right now attacking North Korean nuclear sites. And that's very, very, that would be a big problem, because North Korea obviously borders with not only Russia, but also China. So it's like, you know, this would cause, I don't know. I think the way that President Trump dealt with that in his first term was the best way. And there were real movement. There was a lot of movement in the direction of, you know, perhaps better ties between South Korea and North Korea at the time, you know, at the very beginning. But then I don't know, everything sort of just dissolved since then. So, and then there's Russia's position on the escalating Israel-Iran conflict. This, of course, has profound implications for the Russian-led peace initiatives in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Moscow's strategic interests are closely tied, obviously, to Iran. Not only, I mean, actually, Russia has had not only cultural but historical connections with Iran. So these ongoing hostilities are obviously going to present challenges and potentially opportunities for Russia's diplomatic efforts. But you know, it is kind of interesting, because in some ways it's like they're already also dealing with their own conflict right now. So maybe could be a case for now them deciding, like, you know what, enough is enough. Let's end all of this. There's been too much conflict, too much bloodshed. So hopefully maybe something comes out of it. I don't know. That's what we can hope for.
And speaking of Russia, like Trump recently said that Russia shouldn't have been kicked out of the G7.
U.S. President Donald Trump said at the G7 summit in Canada on Monday that removing Russia from the former Group of 8 over a decade ago was a mistake.
It used to be called G8.
Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8. As I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be.
Because nobody's talking to Russia. Like they have to like make an effort. Like they're always like.
This is the problem. Yeah, it's like if you isolate a person, what's going to happen is that the person's just going to like lash out more and more, and like, or they're just going to like withdraw, and they're going to just do their own thing. And this is the trouble with why I said I don't believe in sanctions. I don't think that really amounts to anything. It's just like you keep dumping on sanctions. At the end of the day, sanctions only hurt the people. It doesn't really like hurt the ruling government or anything. So, yeah, I always thought that this idea of like, ostracizing and alienating them and continuously like, and it goes without saying, it's not only with them, it's with everybody. It's not, even the way that they handled the whole Iran situation, I thought was terrible too. So it's not, right now, I don't think right now it hasn't really been working in my view. Like a lot of foreign policy. What do we have here? The impact of... Oh, right.
Yeah, over here, this article from Euractiv like discusses, the conflict that we've been talking about, but like how it's going to impact the EU. Right. And it talks about that the conflict has disrupted like, hang on a second.
The oil supply chains, for instance, and particularly through as you brought up earlier, the Strait of Hormuz, which is this kind of like very key corridor for oil.
It's very strategic.
It's critical for global oil shipments. In fact, I can just see all the warmongers and profiteers, like salivating, going, I want to get a hand.
We're gonna make money out of war. It's not just the weapons; it's the oil as well.
You want to grab that? They want to get a hold of that, right? So anyway, this as this article's presents, the disruption has led to increased oil prices. Well, so if you're driving a car, good luck on those gas prices. This is going to contribute to obviously inflationary pressure that is already being experienced across Europe. That means higher energy costs, impacting industries and consumers, and potentially slowing economic growth in the region. Yay! So this is all to look forward to. Great. Rising oil prices, and it's not like already Europe hasn't already gone through that, like with higher, because already with the situation in Ukraine, that's already caused issues. And then there was the Nord Stream pipeline that got surprisingly exploded somehow. We don't mention that because don't want any.
I mean, in Europe, we've got like higher gas prices than the States, and I'm not even going to compare it to like the Middle East. Like,
this is going to also, in my opinion, there's one key point here is that the EU may prepare itself for increased humanitarian aid and support once again for foreign wars that they have no involvement in directly. However, if they do get involved, then yes, obviously they will. And so here we go again, and then we have the whole, history repeating itself. And in this case, it's not that much history because this is only like a couple of years back that we're going to see the same things all occur again, and everybody bringing up the same buzzwords and, oh God, refugees and crisis, and here we go. So I think we need to take a little break. I think we're going to go push for a bit longer for the last topic, which we already discussed. Whether we might even actually cover this as a separate thing at some point, maybe, right? Like a video. Yeah.
Why not?
But I think we really should take a break now, and then we're going to push a bit longer, just so we can get through some more things, and especially this topic.
So we have some interesting topics coming up, like Bilderberg, Air India.
Yeah, we have some updates on that.
23andMe, like again, the DNA company, and
then just some little
reactionary videos. So
don't forget, keep follow us, join the community, etc. We will be right back after these messages. I'm trying to hypnotize people.
Oh, wait. Yeah, give me a sec. Sorry.
No problem.
Open it.
In fact, what's interesting is we're going to look at, because we're getting into the Bilderberg, and the Bilderberg meeting just started, by the way, folks. Maybe you didn't know about that, but we are going to get into that. And what's interesting is that, it's kind of interesting how a lot of these things are all kind of interconnected, because we just brought up Palantir as well, and the military industrial complex. But we're also going to look at something in particular, which is quite fascinating, because it's all about The Economist and how their cover picture kind of almost predicted a lot of these things. It's a bit weird. Twilight Zone music. So yeah, we're going to go for a little break. Feel free to refresh yourself with another beverage, top up, get another snack, replenish yourself. Good. Or do what you have to do, and we shall see you right back here.
We'll be right back
in a couple of minutes. And we're back. Right, let's get right into the Bilderberg.
Wait, I want to say something, okay? So we've been thinking for a while to maybe make, perhaps, this is just like on the top of our heads,
Yes.
maybe make like a conspiracy episode or like a special
stream,
or something related to stuff.
I think we have to plan. We're going to plan that, but we're going to do probably like a conspiracy stream. We just have to plan.
Yeah, there are like different options. For example, we can talk about all these like weirdos. I don't want to take over like the news of everything.
Oh,
we need to like make this lighthearted. So we have a lot of guys like in aprons over here. I don't know if they're going to come after us or if they're going to make us a meal.
This has nothing to do.
Or like the.
No, we are not talking about. We're not talking
we're not going there.
Freemasons. We're not
talking about them. We're not talking about the Illuminati or
Adam Weishaupt. Well, there's a lot to be said about this, but nowadays the Illuminati is used kind of a coverall or an umbrella term just to refer to any of the top powerful elite. Why are we at the Blair Witch Project?
Because we're talking about like conspiracies and like paranormal. Like maybe it's not just secret societies, but like
everybody's like, what the hell did I just tune into? We were just talking about.
Exactly. Or let's tune it up a bit. Let's turn it up a bit. So for example, we could even.
The thing is, I want to point out that we would cover actual legitimate type conspiracies and things like this, because what people don't understand is that
top secret projects like the
black ops,
the big aircraft and everything. Yeah,
I think the trouble is that the term conspiracy theorist has been thrown around a lot today, and people just think it's like a tinfoil hat wearing person. But the reality is, like, first of all, a little bit of a history lesson is that the CIA developed the term conspiracy theorist, which was to defame and to denounce anybody who was questioning the JFK assassination, which, by the way, not everything has been released in relation to that. In fact, apparently RFK Jr. has seen the full intelligence, but he's not even releasing the information. So I don't know what's up about that, but that's the term. And if you don't believe that conspiracies occur, they do. They occur on they're rampant everywhere. It literally just means it could be a group or even one individual who is colluding to do something without the knowledge of without public knowledge. So
it might not even have to do with specific beliefs or like extremists. It might even just be people asking like the right questions. For example, even like after 9/11, when I'm not saying like the planes didn't hit them. I don't know. Like I didn't see like stuff. They found passports underneath. But
I saw a funny video about that. Did you see it?
Is that the buildings like collapse vertically?
Did you see this funny? I think it was an AI video or something about Passport Man or something. Did you not see that?
No.
I came across that. I was even thinking like, you know what, we should probably showcase that. But no, look up on YouTube, Passport Man. It's pretty funny. But anyway, yeah, it's all about that. We don't have to show it. We don't have to show it. But I'm just saying, like, it's pretty funny. But let's get into the Bilderberg now.
So Bilderberg.
The Bilderberg was founded in 1954 at the Hotel de Bilderberg in Oosterbeek, Netherlands.
Bilderberg.
That's the name. And its purpose was an annual private conference around 120 to 150 political leaders, business elites, academics, and media figures from across
all over the world,
Anglosphere and North America. Well, predominantly in the beginning, North America and Europe, and then or the Western world, right? And then later it started involving more people. It's non-official and off-the-record closed door with no press or public access, and participants attend as individuals, not representatives of their organizations.
Fancy. They must get good catering there, that's for sure, like good food.
Actually, that has been covered by some investigative reporters. Now, little beknownst to myself, because I didn't even realize, but it was Edge who brought this to my attention. The 71st Bilderberg meeting took 71 meetings so far. 71st Bilderberg meeting took place from June to 12th to the 15th of this year
Yeah.
at the Grand Hotel in Stockholm, Sweden, hosted by the Wallenberg family in the heart of the city under tight security around that time.
These guys sound so posh, like, you know.
And it's one thing to point out here is that it was not a courtesy or known that they would release the attendee list. It has become so now in I think the last decade.
Yeah,
because there
I
was
think
so much media attention.
So many leaks and stuff.
And because these lists were being leaked by people who were, as you were mentioning, the caterers and stuff, because they were making some good money.
It's like plane spotters or train spotters who like jot down what time like people pass, like waiting for the cars to go in or at the airport to spot them. And
but even employees there, they were secretly like smuggling this stuff out and saying, this was the menu, this is what they ate, this is what, you know. So we have a lot of people here from different corporations, different countries. Oh, look, wait, stop, go up. Oh, what's that one? Up. Ooh, we have Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir Technology.
Oh, you know what that is? It's the AI company, which are involved in a lot of like scandals. And we have a video coming out.
Whitney Webb's very favorite.
We're currently making a video on this.
Yes.
So
keep it's taking some time because we want to make a really good expose on this.
Yeah.
But yes, as you see, there's a lot of CEOs from the Volvo group. There's car, obviously, Ryanair is there. And to the regular observer, this may seem, just like, kind of similar to the World Economic Forum or something. It's like a bunch of business counterparts and elites and politicians too are just coming together to talk about different things and such like this. However, I guess the reason why this has been a prevailing issue amongst a lot of people who are much more suspicious is because of its closed door policy and how it's never been official. It's never been on the record. Reporters and journalists have never been allowed inside. And nobody ever knows really what these people are talking about. And these people are pretty powerful, right?
Who are these guys? Like, why are they getting together?
Right. So the question is what they want and why they're here. Not the question, I should say, more statement. But you have certain individuals, right? For instance.
So to be honest, like, okay, it's a huge list, and each of like different people have like different interests. So obviously, when they get to this meeting, they're not going to mingle with everyone. They don't have time for this. So they're probably going to get together in like groups of like 3 or 5 and like have a specific interest.
I would also imagine that they have panels or stuff like that, like kind of like where there's specific topics being discussed, and then there's certain people who are vested in that, they go, and then
in those specific like industrial sectors or government interests.
And this is purely speculative because I'm only basing it on like other things like the World Economic Forum, when you have the G8 and you have the other things and all these other summits, and that's usually how they function too. You have these panels and these things. So talks, seminars, etc.
So shall we talk about like what different groups of
let's go ahead. I think it's interesting.
So on the one hand, like we have tech billionaires and AI experts. We have Peter Thiel that we mentioned from Palantir. Schmidt and Hassabis, they aim to like shape global AI policies. Now, there's a big issue at this because they want to balance innovation with defense. Use. Now, what we mean of like defense is that AI can be up and coming into warfare as well.
I mean, it already
drone
is.
Tech, national security.
It already is being implemented now, and we again. Stay tuned because this is actually kind of covered somewhat in our video of the implications of AI. And the other thing is that we kind of already saw this predicted in a lot of like fictional cinema and stories, right? Like, about why the fears
apocalyptic.
Like Terminator,
robots.
Like the fears of AI, right? Going, getting out of hand. And I think
films like RoboCop as well.
Yeah. I think one thing goes without saying here is that at least since the 20th century, technology in any capacity has always been definitively connected to the military. And I say this because even the internet, even mobile phones, all of this stuff started from there. So, it gets to the consumer market later down the line, but it began there. And it is worrying because we're seeing this push, and it's something that Dr. Stephen Greer, who obviously is that big proponent of
the Disclosure Project
in relation to the UAPs, aka UFOs, and
changing the name,
and also free energy, right? He's a proponent of this, but it's something that he highlights continuously of that. This is the problem of why we can't have good things, because the reality is, at the end of the day, this stuff is always being strangled, or not strangled. It's a stranglehold held by these military corporations, and why part of the reason people are against the military-industrial complex is because they kind of control all of this, and they just want to have more power. They want to have more capabilities, and it's always to weaponize, and this effectively is to fuel potential future conflicts, because obviously, as we brought up, just in the case of like what we see kind of like with this current escalation in Israel and Iran, is that war equals profit, conflict equals profit. And this is unfortunate because, again, it's bullets over lives. And it's simplified, right? So,
and what's also very interesting is that we at the Bilderberg, we had two defense chiefs who are like commanders of like the US.
Yeah, this is shocking. Yeah.
So we have like Donahue, who is of I think it's the US Army in Europe and Africa.
Right.
And then we have Paparo, who is of like Indo-Pacific regions. And they're also very interested in coordinating AI-powered like military assets and Eurasian threat like responses. So other groups we have like in the Bilderberg are...
You have the president of the European Investment Bank, the executive chair of Santander. You have the president of the Eurogroup, Ireland's finance minister, CEO of Ryanair. We mentioned that. CEO of Pfizer. That's a big company. That's also a lot of
worrying. Whenever I see that popping up.
Yeah. Because especially now, because there's now just to highlight that there have been there's been a raise of an alarm recently of a new pandemic emerging, etc., and we all know where that's going.
Hopefully not.
Well, well, we did report. I think we reported on a previous ENDstream, right, that there was a surge, a new surge in Asia currently, which was affecting India and China.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We also have political figures at Bilderberg. So we have Rutte, we have
Mark Rutte, we mentioned him as well. Yeah.
We have Mitsotakis, the Greek prime minister. Like, you get prime ministers at these events, like leaders of countries. Are you serious? And also sometimes you get royalty as well.
Yes.
But here we have also Stoltenberg, who is I think Norway's finance minister or something. And well, they all have like interest in NATO and reinforce NATO and have like alliances with other countries. Like, they want to strengthen transatlantic alliances, so likely with the States.
He was the he's the current Minister of Finance of Norway. You're correct, and former Secretary General of NATO.
So these people want like NATO to have like for the countries within NATO to have like better relations. For security and for like profit interests. Under the table deals.
At this point, the concept of NATO is kind of redundant, I would say.
Yeah.
The people forget that NATO was developed because of the threat or potential threat, I should say, at the time of the USSR, and also because
after World War II, right?
Yeah, and people forget that at that point, USSR had a very massive influence and had a lot of like satellite nations across the world, and there was the Warsaw Pact, and that's a total different kettle of fish, because that was when it was really like on
was on another level, like technology booming, and
a lot of critics of NATO complain that that's ironically what NATO has become now. NATO has become kind of like a surrogate to what was.
So it's kind of the threat how they saw the USSR.
Yeah. Now NATO has become somewhat of that, because
and also like Israel is kind of becoming like what they claim.
I think I know where you're going.
Always under threat. So they're the threat. I don't want to spell it out, but I think everybody knows what we're talking about.
Oh, we're gonna get so much hate.
It's like, gonna get bullies.
Whatever. Whatever.
The person bullied becomes the bully.
We're gonna get detractors from every side here, but it's fine. It doesn't matter.
We're not calling people out, but like to be honest, like almost like on every side there's a bully and someone else.
I mean, the reality is like there is no. I forget who mentioned this, but someone once said that there's no good side or good guy or bad guy ever in any situation. It's just how it's perceived and how it's painted. So one guy is going to look like the bad guy, and a perfect example of this is like I hate to bring it up, but it's World War II. You had a bad guy in Germany, which I won't have to mention his name. Everybody knows who that is.
But he was from Austria, yeah.
But anyway, he was the bad guy in Germany, and he obviously was promoting, really a lot of nasty things, like xenophobia, racism, etc., and doing a lot of nasty things, right? But at the same time, what people don't remember or people forget is that the heroes of World War II, in terms of the leaders, were three specific characters, and I can mention their names, obviously Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt. But these three people themselves were bad guys. They were really bad guys as well, what they did. And that should not be ignored. It should not be ignored.
Own people suffered as well, a lot, like under them.
As well as other people abroad.
Thanks to them, we've avoided other things. But under their rule, people experience other stuff.
But my only point is that, it's always like it's like that argument, like when people say for you to vote between the two big parties, you should vote for the lesser of two evils. Well, ironically, that's always what's happening here, because you're still voting for evil.
Yeah.
In my view, I don't think you should vote for evil anyway. I don't think there's a question of like voting for the lesser of two evils. Evil is evil. That's it. But the point being here is that there's no good guy, no bad guy. It's always the way you perceive it and how it, like I said, and how it's like characterized, right?
Yes.
And so in this situation, I don't even know why I brought up that. What I was referring to again?
Referencing this somewhere. So I just want to say one last thing, like before we wrap up Bilderberg, is that, like we said, we have a video coming up about Palantir, the AI company.
Yeah.
So I just want to play a clip regarding that.
This is Peter Thiel.
Kind of interesting. No, it's not. It's another guy.
Right.
But let's have a look.
I want to play for you one of the most chilling clips I've ever heard. And just hold on and trust me, because it's not that chilling until you realize what it means.
The basic idea.
That's
Peter Thiel.
Peter
Thiel.
Yeah. I got confused there for a second.
The idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through a technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
That's tech billionaire and Republican megadonor Peter Thiel speaking at a Libertopia, a libertarian conference in 2010. He's basically saying that his political ideology is so unappealing that it'll never win elections. And that's one thing he's right about, because he's railed against women having the right to vote, complained so much about diversity, and
sounds like
these are often these are stupid misconceptions. It's a trope, like where it's like, women vote with their feelings and they don't vote with but that's not true, because at the end of the day, a lot of women who are mothers or have careers and stuff, they're also voting for their interests. You know, they are thinking about the bottom line too, like, you know, how much money I'm going to have at the end of the day, or things like this that matter, right? Or how I'm going to provide stuff. So it's such a myopic way of looking at things.
Basically, this clip was saying that this guy was saying that Peter Thiel is like very like small-minded, but he still wants his way, even though he knows he doesn't have the support. Like,
I mean, he's basically saying he's basically promoting the wet dream of every politician, which is basically saying, well, we can use technology to manipulate people to just vote in your favor. This is insanity. And to be honest, this is exactly what already is happening to some degree with all these like campaign videos and stuff like this. You know what I mean?
If you think not just about AI, but like if you take Google into account, like the amount of data they have about what people look for, and they can basically like control the narrative. Like if people are looking for something, they can shape the world.
This is exactly what happened with social media over Facebook and Twitter back when it was called Twitter, which was exposed actually by Elon Musk, believe it or not, with the Twitter files, right? This is exactly what was going on because they're controlling the narrative. And these are the dangers of technology. And the problem is that people get too suckered into it without even realizing. Because we also brought this up not too long ago too, about how people are within their own little echo chambers, you know? They'll believe anything, you know? They'll buy into anything. Like that's the trouble. It's very despairing to some degree, but you know, I don't know.
Right. So yeah, that was Peter Thiel and Bilderberg.
There's the problem I think with all of this is that what we're not seeing at the Bilderberg is any representation from places like China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea. Well, obviously North Korea, but you know, there's definitely strategic, balancing against these nations. And for all the criticism you may have against those regimes, it doesn't look good either, because it's like, there is definitely concerted effort here, like to target, especially two great powers. One who has already, and another one that has already the potential for nuclear capabilities. I'm referring to Korea, and now another one which is in the crosshairs, right?
That's for sure.
And I, it's like that old adage you just brought up, like, okay, where we might get into. There's an old adage which is like, divide and conquer, right? Order through chaos. It kind of feels more and more that this is the case. This is the case being pushed. Like, we are all the pawns, and we just play our role, and we're the first to be sacrificed. And meanwhile, the nobles, aka queen, horsemen, everything, they're the ones who get to decide, and they're the ones protected.
We're not playing. What's that game like? Subbuteo, like old like tabletop games with soldiers and stuff.
Like Risk. You mean Risk?
Yeah, I'm just saying that the people calling the shots aren't the ones in the crosshairs. It's the normal people again. Like, once again, I'm saying it that normal people get caught up like in wars and die for what? For nothing.
I don't think a lot of people can really digest what this really means. Sometimes I've talked to people who've been I mean, I know you did military service, and I know people who have actually been in like war scenario,
conflict. I've actually met people.
Both actively and also as a victim.
Iraq, like Marines and stuff.
And this isn't something to like turn a blind eye lightly at. Like, this is stuff that is very highly traumatizing. We know for a fact, even like when everyone goes on about the vets. I don't mean animal doctors, I mean obviously veterans from the military, and they're scarred. If they're scarred, you have no idea, or even how civilians.
Oh, that brings me to,
you know what I'm saying?
To something I just thought of.
So
give me one sec.
I'm just going to carry on my thought here. So this is this is what I think is like, we're really disconnected and disassociated with this in some ways to a point, and it's no surprise because we're just constantly bombarded, with or desensitized from the harsh reality of like how bad this is until it actually happens to you. And I still can't believe that we're in the 21st century and this still becomes an issue today, you know, like amongst other issues, but we still are having this where we have to shed blood over such petty, such ridiculous things, you know. And at the end of the day, it's like you said, it's always because of the interests of those on top who are dictating, you know.
I just want to point this out. It's from April, but it's still very relevant to what we're saying. I'll just show it for like a tiny bit, and then we can like move on to the next topic.
And Jared over there. And Jared.
So you guys, got hit, huh? Pretty good. You got hit.
Pretty good.
Amazing.
Their unit had more than 50% purple heart rate.
I mean, look at their legs. They're blown up.
You deserve it. You deserve that and more. We appreciate it so much.
Purple hearts. You deserve purple hearts and more.
People, thank you very much.
It's like, how like disillusioned are you?
There's a common thing in the States. I think I don't know if I brought this up before, but there's a common thing in the States where it's like everybody always tells like someone who's in the military or a vet, like, oh, thank you for your service. And I used to be of that mind too, until the point where I'm like of the view where, and it's no disrespect to anybody who's serving in the military or whatever, but the reality is this: I never asked any of those people to serve. I never asked those people to fight in my name. I've never asked anything of that matter. I feel very bad if anything has happened to them or if they lost their lives or their loved ones lost their lives. But at the end of the day, I never asked. You never did that in my name. And you know, there's this presumption that they do these things to safeguard our liberties and our freedoms.
Well, country,
newsflash. The people who should be safeguarding those things are the people who are in power, voted into power, and they're doing a terrible job about it. Not you. Because unless there's a direct threat, last I checked, you don't have to do anything other than defend, you know, the nation and secure the country, right? The state, the nation state.
For real.
But I don't see how that's an issue. Like, why are you going overseas and why are you doing this? So no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to thank anybody for their service because they haven't done. I never asked for that. They volunteered. They did it. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. That's different, of course, if you're drafted. There's a different case, right? If you're drafted, then it's still, I'm not going to thank anybody for that because, I mean, a lot of people do stuff which is highly, highly relevant and it's not acknowledged either. What about actual teachers? What about emergency workers? What about fire workers?
Every day they're putting their lives at risk.
What about social workers? Nobody says thank you for your service. What about people who are taking care of the elderly? Nobody says thank you for your service. Who's taking care of the elderly? Their job is hell.
Or people looking after like disabled people who can't move and like lifting them, or people like in surgeries and stuff, or not even there. Like you go to like some coffee shops or waitresses who pick up like glasses from tables. You don't even
thank you for your
knowledge. Thank you. Like something basic as that.
Yeah, but
let alone people who are like, I don't know.
I get like having a respect to some degree for the armed forces, but the armed forces should never have to be used. They should never have to be used until the last resort. Point.
Yeah.
Right. Last resort. And I feel that this has all become an element which only corroborates further how the American military industrial complex, I hate to use that term constantly, but how it's so ingrained now, where the military itself, it's like, thank you for your service. You're a part of it. Nobody asked for this. Nobody asked to get thrown into any war. Nobody, in fact, it's not known to most people, but World War I, World War II, people were drafted. They didn't want to go. A lot of people didn't want to go. They didn't want to fight.
In the movies, they make it
because they didn't see the point.
You know, kids wanted to go, you know, fight for their country, that they didn't know better, but I'm pretty sure they didn't.
The American system has bolstered, I wouldn't say the American system, I would say more so the military industrial complex level, what Eisenhower warned us of, has been wholly in bed with, you know, Hollywood and everything, that they promoted this image significantly. bolstering the idea that, no, the military is essential, and without it, we are doomed. And so, last time I checked, the U.S. wasn't invaded by nobody. I mean, like, they weren't even invaded back in World War I. They went over to help. And you can argue Pearl Harbor and also September 11th, right? But still, I'm talking about a full-on, proper, invasion. I'm not talking about, those I would say are attacks, right?
Or like Napoleon going to Russia or something and reaching Moscow, and it was like completely empty because their own people like destroyed their supply, so he wouldn't get anything, and then he had to go back because he didn't have anything.
So I mean, this is I don't know. This is the trouble, and the thing is, like, we don't really know what's going to come out of the Bilderberg, but it'll be interesting. But definitely, as you raised the concern, I think it's going to be a lot more in relation to defense plans coming up. AI in some capacity involved, war with military.
This is all going to echo. Like through policy corridors, like not maybe by the actual people, but it's gonna like snowball onto their ministers or workers or policies.
Policies that we're gonna see develop. And it's just so funny because I don't see nobody representative or no one bringing up legitimate, important social issues.
Important issues like
poverty,
housing, like
homelessness,
food,
mental health, elderly support. I mean, just to name a few. Just those are key ones that I bring up all the time.
Unemployment and stuff.
Youth, jobs, the job market, how to invigorate again. Nope. Just always the same thing.
Or like when like there's a couple or something and they just have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman is out of work.
You mean
like the debate whether women should work, like if they have a kid, and who's going to look after the kid afterwards? Like if they don't have parents or grandparents to look after the kids, like how's the mom gonna? It's a matter of like what you do with your kids.
Maternal leave, right? Maternal leave or paternal leave. There's also paternal leave as well in relation to that.
Yeah, exactly. Like if two parents are working, what do they do with a kid?
Yeah.
And if nobody can look after the kid, then one is out of work, which causes problems in like how to pay your bills and stuff. And this is something every single parent faces, and it's not being addressed.
Yeah, I would say
it's like, it's a big issue.
One
wage is supposed to go to like a kindergarten. Like one person is working for someone else. It doesn't make sense, That's why a lot of people, like half of them don't work.
I just want to stipulate. I want to stipulate though that there is a lot of good work going on in relation to AI in terms of how it can be assisting. It can assist people, but that's never highlighted, and it should be highlighted.
Tool. How
it should be highlighted, but there is a lot of research and development in relation to how it's helping people with neurological issues or conditions, as well as mental health, as well as trying to find ways of how it can provide support for the more vulnerable of society. But the problem is there's not enough funding, there's not enough focus or highlighting about this, and that's what's missing and that's what's lacking. And instead, obviously there's more money in applications of defense, armaments,
military, that's for sure.
Also,
by far.
Anyhow, we need to come down. So we reported we're moving on from the Bilderberg because there's not much else known because none of us are there. Maybe next year, or no, when is it? It's every year, is it? Or
it's every year.
Or maybe next year we'll report on the ground. Who knows?
The Bilderberg has been going on since the 50s, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
So it's like the 71st this year. So let's move on.
We have an update in relation because we reported last week about the Air India Dreamliner, which crashed, which is a horrific disaster. I think up to how many? It was 200. How many people died?
242 people were aboard, and only one survived.
One survived.
241 died. And
interesting thing about that is it's now become a trend and popular for people now who are booking flights to book that exact seat that
which
the
was
survivor.
11A.
Yeah.
But I've seen statistically, like in documentaries, like the safest place to sit in a plane is towards the back, either right at the back or behind the plane, behind the wing. But I don't know.
This place to sit is right here. I ain't getting on no plane. I ain't getting on no plane because I don't trust plane travel.
Yeah, but you also have to watch out because 30 to 40 people on the ground also died because they were hit.
Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah, that's terrible.
Those guys aren't getting as much coverage as the other guys, but still, it's terrible. And I think they found both black boxes.
Yeah. Recently, though, there's been another incident with Air India. And we played a video from one of the passengers that was on there before it took off, and they were basically exposing how like decrepit Air India is and pointing out a lot of like problems, like the air conditioner wasn't working and all this stuff.
Before it took off, it was on the runway and the screens didn't work.
They weren't working.
The electrics were not working.
And this was obviously, quite startling. And
it was something out of Final Destination 1, like when
yes, don't remind me about that. That's why I have a fear of flying.
Doesn't work. Yeah,
maybe I shouldn't put that out there. Anyway, but there is a significant proportion of criticism of Air India, and obviously we already know that they were using Boeing 787s, and there's already been significant scandal and criticism for Boeing.
Some issues,
recently, flight AI315, operated by Air India Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, again, departed from
another flight.
It's another flight. It departed from Hong Kong for New Delhi on the 16th of June of this year. Roughly an hour into the flight, the crew reported a suspected technical fault. Prompting the aircraft to return safely, however, to Hong Kong, Air India stated it is conducting full inspections to minimize inconvenience and ensure safety. Well, let me tell you something. Don't fly Air India. Don't fly Boeing. I've been telling people, don't fly Boeing. Don't fly Air India.
Check the planes they use.
We have an article here you can maybe share. Do you see?
Yeah, give me a sec.
So this incident follows the catastrophic crash of flight AI171, which was on 12th of June, which we were just talking about, involving the same aircraft model. So, of course, Boeing has not issued comments, and Indian aviation authorities are investigating. All I can tell you is that the root of all of this boils down to Boeing. However, go ahead.
Update that's just come in. We're learning that Air India flight AI315 en route from Hong Kong to Delhi was forced to return to its origin after the pilot suspected a technical issue mid-air. The flight AI315, operated by Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, departed Hong Kong for Delhi but was then forced to return. We're learning that after taking off, technical issue was suspected, and hence
I like how the flight number starts with AI, Air India.
As a precautionary measure. Going across to Anvit, who joins us with more details. Just a few minutes ago, Anvit, we broke down news coming in of a Chennai-bound British Airways Boeing 787, which was asked to return given some technical issue. A similar story emerging from this Air India Dreamliner.
Yes, certainly, and it's from all across the regions. Dreamliner 787 is certainly coming up and emerging as an aircraft that has been troubled by technical snags of late. Earlier it was Chennai-bound London flight, and now it is Air India flight AI315 that was en route from Hong Kong to Delhi.
Yeah, well, there's like a general big issue with like maintenance and servicing the plane and doing the right checks. Like it shouldn't be cheap, but they're trying to save costs and stuff, I think.
And
this is the problem.
Return to its origin after the pilot, when the flight was on a larger picture. This also was a 787 Dreamliner.
Pilot suspected technical issue,
it was
on board.
Chennai flight. That also was a similar aircraft. That also was a 787 Dreamliner that had to return to Heathrow following.
All right, so what I want to say,
it's always sacrificing the you know, the the well-being of people over cutting costs.
Yeah, it's all about money, unfortunately. Like the cost of life.
It's ridiculous.
It's quite a shame, though. I did hear something about, the other flight that crashed. I think there was one woman who.
Oh, right. There's been developments, right? There's been developments on that, right?
No, well, I don't know, but about the developments of the black boxes.
I think there was possible causes that they suggested, right?
Yeah, I think they were down to electrical things, but don't quote me on it. I did hear about a woman who was late to her flight, and they wouldn't let her through. What's it called? Through the gate, something like that. And she was lucky in that aspect that she survived.
Wow, she survived? Well, because she didn't board the plane, right?
Yeah. Shall we move on?
Yeah, we actually have to wrap up soon. Yeah, we might not be able to cover everything that we always intended to, but that's why we have to. But do you want to maybe give a overview of like the whole 23andMe controversy?
So 23andMe is, as far as I know, a DNA company like, what's it called? Ancestry.
It's like Ancestry.com or MyHeritage. Basically, you give them a swab of your saliva or something, and then they find like your ethnic origins, and then they also like try to, if they put you in a database, and anybody else on that database, you can see if you're related to them, etc.
So basically, I'm going to give a quick
one little thing to add. The person who was the head of that was connected to Facebook. I think it's the sister-in-law or something of Zuckerberg's wife was head of 23andMe. I have to double check that, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So basically in 2023, there was a hack, and hackers used stolen cards hang on. Well, anyway, there was a big hack where hackers accessed info to 14,000 accounts and pulled data on like, I don't know how, but like 6.9 million users. Maybe it's because each user is linked to other people. So
right, because it's all in a database. That's the thing. Yeah, they're all registered in this.
It's like family trees and stuff.
Right.
And they particularly targeted Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people, or heritage rather. And the data that was stolen were names, birth years, locations, ancestry info, family trees, even raw genetic and health predisposition details. So
that is something that these services or whatever could do. Also, they could inform you, like if you have a predisposition for allergies or something like that somehow. So they looked into that.
Some sort of cancer, or if your grandparents had it. So the issue over here is that they didn't know about this hack for like months and stuff. And then afterwards they found out about it. The UK fined them £2.3 million. In the States, there was a class action suit where they had to pay $30 million. And users were asked to delete their data like after bankruptcy. The company went bankrupt in March 2025. And all because of this data breach.
Actually, this was, and I have to correct myself, they're not connected to Facebook. So it was Anne Wojcicki. We brought her up, Susan Wojcicki, her sister. So it was connected to Google, I would say, in some form. So Anne Wojcicki, she co-founded 23andMe. And she was CEO until they, as you mentioned, in March of 2025.
Interestingly enough, Anne Wojcicki was the CEO of this company, 23andMe. And so the company 23andMe went up for auction, and there was a big company, Regeneron, that bid $256 million. But then Anne Wojcicki's supposed non-profit TTAM company counted it with $305 million, and that we're still waiting to hear like who's going to get the company. Now, the problem with these sort of companies is that when you register, if anybody registers on them, they kind of relinquish rights, let's say, where the company can use the data on your DNA. So when there's like a data breach, like a hack or something, the big question is that these people didn't sign up for their data to be hacked and leaked. They signed up for, you know what, if anybody can use it, it's the company. Like, you know, we'll make a pass because we actually want, like, we want to use the site, but you have to kind of relinquish your information. So it's kind of a pain. And the big question lies in, like, who owns, like, this genetic data.
This is the problem of like not reading the small print, and I think this is the problem, is that a lot of people are banking on things or jumping onto things without realizing like what they're signing themselves over. And I think this is, we're going to start seeing this a lot more of AI as well, because there was a Black Mirror episode where this was the case, where they were taking the imagery, the visual, or I don't know what you would call it, the visualization of people. This is the one where it was Salma Hayek or something. They were taking the visualization of people, and just because they had signed on that they could watch this thing in the terms of service or agreement, was that you allowed them to use your visualization. And you know what? It's not unlike this thing, which is on the physical level, right? Genetic level. So, and this is worrying, and this is why people need to be, there needs to be a lot of more precaution, a lot of more preventative measures and regulatory measures. And I think that's where the government should come in to it. Because the thing is, there's no oversight. And, you know, I'm all for the freedom to trade, services, business, etc., within you know, this sort of scheme of like, you know, if you have something that someone wants, then you should do so. But there should be like some oversight in terms of like, okay, what sort of like weird things they're putting into like these little agreements and stuff like that, because this is not right. It's ethically and morally not right. And I think you know, we've already seen this in situations with banking and finance, of how this has ruined people's lives because they've agreed to things that they didn't even know. But it's like, oh, you could have read the terms of agreement or terms, you know. And this is the same thing with social media too, what they've been criticized over with their data, obviously, from data harvesting. So I think, you know, you need to be a lot more careful, and there needs to be a movement of like, or some sort of like information, and like how you can sort of try to reclaim your identity, reclaim your privacy, reclaim your, you know, yourself, I guess, in this case. It's getting a bit worrying. Right. The Economist, they released this cover. I think it was, I don't recall when. It was like, it was before, right? This was their prediction for the world ahead for 2025. So this was in relation to Donald Trump, of course, returning to, and the global consequences, trade wars, the terrifying prospect, geopolitics. And what we see here is a lot of interesting things. So here we got Trump in the center, where he belongs. We
have von der Leyen.
Ursula von der Leyen, You got Xi Jinping. You got the all-seeing eye onto the left-hand side of Trump. Nuclear. I'm not sure if that is Zelensky on the bottom left.
Zelensky. So. This is to the right of Trump. The eye.
And you know,
here there's like Elon Musk's rocket or something that lands vertically. We have like Tesla, America. We have Saturn. It probably represents like space exploration.
True. We got the trade. We've got
President Putin. We have
who's that on the bottom there? That's interesting. I'm not familiar with who that is, but
maybe it's also like the feminist. Like the hand, I don't know.
No, I know who it is. It's Greta Thunberg from Back in Time. It looks a bit like her. Sorry.
How dare you?
But there's you see that ballot box there? It's all cracked. That's all about the elections. We have all these references. It's very interesting how it's so predictive. What's interesting here, I find, is that you've got Xi Jinping on the top, because for the first time, I think for a while, like China's not really making moves that are really like shaking, like causing distress at this point in time, right? But as we mentioned earlier, we don't know because there's always been like provocations and pushes in the, I think it's the South Chinese Sea, like
exactly.
So someone in our Discord has posted in our chat here, Lalo Salamanca. Even without bloodshed and conflicts, there's a threat of losing your own market to a foreign manufacturer where your politics being meddled with. I mean, this goes without saying. I thought it was important to highlight this.
Yeah.
And they have they're connected. They have if I believe they're connected to India or South Asia. I think that's what India wouldn't want, even if the possibility of an actual military conflict would be rare. Not to sound like a partisan, but folks who criticize the Americans for building naval and air bases in the Pacific region to contain China, this is what I just bringing up earlier, because I said like there's been push there, are the same ones who apparently have no issues when China does it to India in the Indian Ocean. World's two biggest powers taking precautionary measures. Well, this is all because there was a discussion there in relation to like, is NATO and the US becoming a new USSR type of thing, ironically. And is India, are we seeing like a situation as he provided that India is in the same position as China was in the 1970s after the Sino-Soviet split? So this was the split between China and the Soviet Union. Just a moment.
Yes. Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna wait for Birds to play this video. It's kind of linked to the Economist cover that we just showed over here, and we have a lot more to talk about coming up. Basically, what we're gonna do now after this video, we're still doing reactionary videos.
Sorry about that.
I just wanted to play this video, which is
I forgot you should mute this because this is Grimes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, if anything, we'll
have to cut this out.
Oh man.
I forgot.
Is that Elon Musk's ex or something? Grimes.
Yeah. Yes, his ex Grimes. Yeah. This is.
I didn't know she was a singer.
Or not Grimes. I think it is Grimes. Yeah, it's like a remix of it. But anyway, whatever. Hopefully.
Okay. So let's start over in case I need to edit this. So yeah, this is the reaction of this guy through Instagram about the Economist cover that everything's going nuts. There's the missiles and the whole Iran and atomic bomb scare.
His stuff is very funny. Juan Bergman, you check him out. He does a lot of these type of videos. He's just always reacting to everything. So we have to move on. React. What's that? So we have an explosion that happened, right? I don't think we can do this one.
What explosion?
Scroll down, lower. Yeah, we can't. We don't have time. We're gonna have to wrap up. But we can.
Yeah.
But there's a spaceship explosion.
Okay.
That happened. How long is this actually?
It's short.
Okay.
Very short.
This was in relation. Well, this was the recent Starship explosion, which we actually featured in our new space race. But yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
Recently, this is the second one because there was a previous one, which was when it was in orbit, it exploded. Not in orbit, sorry, when it had already launched, but this was pre-launch. So yeah. Whoa, that's wild, man. That's that is scary.
Jeez.
This is my thing. It's like we're not ready for space exploration just yet. I think we need to we were just talking about Air India and stuff. Well, why are planes still using technology? This is so outdated. The design, not the technology, sorry, the design and everything. It's so outdated. It's why haven't we improved that? Let's improve that first, maybe. I don't know. Scary. There's another one here. What's the most powerful intelligence agency in the world? Do you know the answer to that one?
Well, I would assume it's the NSA.
No. You see the highlighted one here? That one, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna link it now.
You think it's the NSA? Well.
Or is it like MI6, like with James Bond and stuff?
I have my own.
What is the most powerful intelligence agency in the world?
The most powerful intelligence organization in the world in terms of reach is the Chinese MSS. They have created an intelligence service that has global reach, and every Chinese person anywhere in the world is an informant to the MSS.
Kind of interesting, because this is somewhat true that there's always
everyone is an informant.
They have a lot of people connected to this that are very like they're elite. They're like what you would call in allegiance to the party, which is obviously the Communist Party of China.
What's interesting is that everything is made in China. Like all your electrical devices are made in China. Like who's to say they're not putting like a bug in your light bulbs or something like that? I don't know.
I mean,
to be honest, the States was worried about this, like with certain phones like Huawei and very interesting.
When it comes to professional capability, it's the CIA by far, because budget-wise, capability-wise, weapon system-wise.
When it's in terms about money and like,
I mean, they are
drugs,
the biggest
Cuba
spider web network in the world. They're involved in every secret agency. They are.
And Bush Senior was the director at one point.
Yeah, they're involved with everything. I mean, we could go into depth about them, but anyway.
What about MK Ultra? Are they involved?
That was them too.
Wise, modern technology wise, CIA is the leader around the world. And then you've got, so tech alone, nothing.
Well, not top, the Chinese are. Who's this?
Beats DGSE in France. They're the top. They've got a massive budget. DGSE in France is a massively powerful intelligence organization. And then in terms of just...
I've never heard of them.
That's why. That's why.
They're so good, I've never heard of them.
There you go.
What the fuck?
Terrifying violence. You have Mossad. Mossad will do anything. No qualms doing what it takes to.
Mossad, I think we've all heard of them, but if they have like good enough intelligence, well, why are they?
No, they're the most terrifying in terms of what they can do in terms of violence and capability.
Maybe it's because they have like women in the military. Maybe they fight like pretty good. Just saying.
Maybe.
To ensure the survival of every Israeli citizen around the world.
What is the most powerful?
That was an interesting thing.
Like,
I thought. Apparently,
citizen around the world. What about the people in the States? Are they like covering for them?
I don't know. It's interesting.
Maybe because they support them somehow.
The problem is all these intelligence networks are too deep and involved with a lot of shady stuff. And this is what needs to. There's no oversight.
Who's actually running them? Who's watching the watcher?
There you go. That's why they get away with a lot of crime. I'm not kidding when I say, I'm not going to mention the name, but the one that was mentioned there, one of the biggest ones, I have stated is the biggest criminal organization in the world to this day. And if you don't think I'm telling you the truth, it is. They get away with shocking human rights violations.
Don't say who they are, because
I know I'm not saying their name, but they were mentioned in that video.
For anyone, like, we're not on the suicide watch.
Not only human rights violations, but these individuals have been in bed with some of the biggest criminal organizations in the world. They have committed toppled regimes. They've been involved in so many duplicitous, heinous acts,
like with mercenaries and stuff, or
and
like atrocities.
They literally are the biggest criminal organization in the world. If you're talking about they're the biggest criminal organization.
Okay.
One of, I would say.
Yeah.
But he was mentioning.
But we're not saying which one.
Yeah.
We're not saying which. So yeah.
I still intend to go to sleep tonight.
Do you want to touch upon anything else?
I think the last thing we should just talk about to leave on a good note is that recently, in interesting and stupid news, a tourist, because we were just talking about tourists earlier, they damaged a crystal covered chair in an Italian museum by sitting on it. And this chair was apparently, it was at the Palazzo Maffei Verona.
This has gone viral, by the way.
It was Van Gogh's chair, apparently.
I've actually spoken to some people about this as well.
Because actually, you can play the video. Actually, how stupid! Like, honestly,
this chair was made of like Swarovski crystals, if I'm not mistaken.
Swarovski's, crystals.
And so it was there. It was probably all bling, and there was a couple, and probably the wife or something probably told the guy, "Hey, have a seat. I'll take a picture of you."
It's a great Instagram moment. Have a look. But how could you? Yeah, it's playing. But how do you think?
It's shiny.
Okay, no, he's hovering. He's hovering, obviously. Okay, so it shows that he knew better. Oh my lord!
Touched it.
Now you screwed up.
Hanno atteso l'uscita del personale di sala per una foto d'effetto.
You don't fuck that up and you run away before anybody notices.
Yeah, but this is the thing. It's like no. It's like
La Van Gogh, realizzata dall'artista Nicola Bolla, è molto fragile perché ha un'anima leggerissima e questa miriade di Swarovski, ed eravamo veramente preoccupati che non sarebbe stata possibile da restaurare, ma le restauratrici sono state bravissime, così come molto attente sono state le forze dell'ordine che hanno fatto un intervento immediato. Fortunatamente è tornata a Palazzo Maffei risplendente.
Oh, they fixed it. Okay.
No, this is it's not his actual. I think it's a replica of the chair that he painted.
Okay.
Or something. So actually, it's not even that newsworthy.
So, I mean, I like Van Gogh's work of art. So
yeah, but this wasn't Van Gogh's work. But either way, it's like whatever. It was a funny little thing, I guess, because it just shows you how silly people are. They don't know when not to touch. It was obviously not, like super annoying.
So yeah, this is just.
So that's what it was based off. Swarovski did the chair from that, and yeah.
And it was also famous in another of its famous work of arts, which was this. And yeah.
So I guess that comes up. We have to wrap up. We've been on for long enough. Hopefully you enjoyed, whoever's there, or you enjoy if you're catching this later, because I can understand that too. Just thanks for tuning in. And we were trying to do it on today because we thought it might be better, but we might return back to our Friday spot. And we will post in advance, I think, not only in the Discord, but we'll post an alert in advance for our schedule for when we're going to do the stream.
Yeah.
And again, we'll post in the chat where you can check us out. We have an Instagram. Add us on there. We're obviously on Discord. Join the community there. X, follow us on X. And obviously, if you're not already on YouTube, Rumble or Kick, that's where we stream simultaneously. But yeah, a lot has transpired and a lot yet to come, so interesting to see what will develop. I'm hoping that cooler minds will prevail and that it's the summer now. Maybe people can have maybe some respite, breath of fresh air, and maybe we can see some silver lining.
Hopefully,
and there doesn't need to be more conflict or problems. I hope. Let's see.
Yeah, so everybody, thanks for tuning in, and keep an eye on our videos during the week.
Yeah, they're coming up.
We keep releasing. So yeah, again, we have a video on Palantir and AI.
There's also the Ukrainian situation of trafficking, and then the AI implications coming out too. Yeah.
Just give me a second so I can pull up the outro video.
And we will probably be also doing. Keep your eyes open because we'll be posting and stuff, a lot more updates and things coming up along the way. And yeah, we appreciate all your support and those of you who follow us. And yeah, hopefully you stay tuned to every new day. And this was...
It's here. It's here.
The ENDstream. Just have to put it larger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
See you, everyone.